Welcome to the Tech Ranch, where we explore the world of living with technology. Get ready to take a deep dive into the latest gadgets, apps, and innovations with your hosts, the Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson, and his trusty co-host, Steve Bakken. Join us on this exciting journey, and don't forget to visit thetechranch.com for even more exclusive content. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Marlo and Steve to the Tech Ranch.
And today on the Tech Ranch, by the way, welcome everybody.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's good, right?
Yeah. Marlo Anderson, Steve Bakken,
John Nagel.
guest.
Didn't they just say that on the thing coming in?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we have the bumpers,
reiterating. Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm just asking.
Cybersecurity expert,
Yeah, that's a surprise in
Guru
just a
of geek.
second. And then you.
whatever the hell I am.
You're at the control panel. You're the king of the controls.
Okay, king of the controls.
Steve
I like
Bakken,
that.
king of the controls.
I'm going to go with that.
So, yeah, I was targeted last week in Vegas, I think, and we're going to have our
You
cybersecurity
think?
specialist. I'm going to tell this story.
Okay, tell the story, and
Well, I have other things I want to talk
then we'll
about
let
first.
John decide
That's right.
if you were targeted.
That's right. We're also going to be talking a little bit about Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi, and why maybe that's not such a good idea. I think John can weigh in on that too. And swiper jacking, cord jacking, all this other stuff that maybe people need to be situationally aware about when they're out in public. What is it that you really need to be careful about when you're using your cards, your personal identity? These are all things we're going to talk about today.
Not tracker jackers, though.
What's a tracker jacker?
That was that killer bug from like a hornet from the Hunger Games.
I need to watch the Hunger
those?
Games, I guess.
It's overrated.
So anyway, our special guest today.
I bring everything back to movies, John.
It's-
Sorry,
I know you
it's
do.
just me.
It's been a long time since we've talked, John. So John Nagel, cybersecurity. I always want to say cyber, but it's cybersecurity specialist.
Cypher security.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's been a long time since we've
It has
we've
been a
talked.
while.
You were a guest often on the old Tech Ranch.
I even had the privilege of guest hosting and being Marlo Anderson 2.0. It was fantastic.
It was
way too much hair.
He does for that, right? No wonder it's 2.0.
Marlo Anderson.
He's faster. He's stronger. He has more hair.
But no Kate.
So here's the setup. So I was in Vegas last week, and I was attending a convention. And I got this invite to go to this pre-CES Consumer Electronics Show thing, which I've covered, as you know, for many, many years. And they were going to be talking about NFTs and crypto and all this stuff that's kind of in my wheelhouse. So I got a little excited about it. The convention that I was at the convention center in Vegas. This reception was at the hotel right next door, so I could walk out the doors where I was going over to this other one, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this couldn't be more easy. They had actually they were going to put me up for 3 nights in the hotel and the whole bit, and we were going to do this tour of the facility the next day and all this stuff. So I get there, and I was at the sign-in desk. It was in a small room. So first of all, there was less than 50 people there. Stunned by how small this was.
First
Small
red flag.
Okay. I'm checking in, and this lady comes up to me and starts giving me kind of a massage. I have no idea who this is. Okay. And she's like, she does this for a few seconds. I'm like, I'm uncomfortable with what's going on. And then she walks away and she goes, I'll see you in a little while. Okay. So I walk into this room. I have unusual conversations with many people, like weird conversations. I have no idea what they're talking about. They're just talking in circles for 10, 15 minutes at a time. I literally have to stop them. The one guy actually asked, can you just send me to your website? He's like, this is too complicated to have explained on a website. What are you talking about? This is insane. The drinks that they were offering was red and blue. That was it. You could check. So like red pill, blue pill type of scenario, right? And then I started asking people why I'm there, and I caught up to the organizer, and she said, "Well, these are about 50 of the brightest people in the world, And isn't it exciting that we're here to change the world? This is like a kumbaya moment with the organizer. And then I'm thinking to myself, and I asked her again, I said, so why am I here? Because I'm not one of the 50 brightest people in the world. And most of the people...
51st.
Most of the people, yeah, right, 51st, yeah. Most of the people I talk
They said
to
brightest, not best looking.
are
right?
not, no, they did say brightest, yeah. But the people I talk to are not the brightest people in the world either. So anyway, it was really weird. And then this gal comes into the room. She comes up to me and she's like, I'm so excited you're here.
Was it the
And
same one?
Same one that gave me the massage, okay? And we start talking, and she goes, and I have your contact information, so if I need to reach out, I can do that, right? She opens up her phone, and she has all of my contact information in her phone, photos of me, birth dates, and I'm thinking, okay, this stuff is public information. But then she has, and I can't divulge it on the air, but, Steve and I are working on a project that's pretty secret, and she has this project
We could tell you, but we'd have
on
to kill
her
you.
phone. And I'm serious.
Were you floored?
There is no more than maybe 15 people that know about this on the planet. This is not public information, and there's no way she knows about this. And I just looked at that. And then she wants to take pictures. And there was this gal standing next to me, and she literally grabs me out of there, and she goes, you don't take pictures with these people because they're going to have you on their website promoting what they're talking about here. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, what the heck is going on?
Or maybe a milk carton.
Or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I am literally kind of freaking out. I'm still freaking out about the fact that she has this project on her phone. How do you have this? And then so I left. I had checked into the hotel there. I hadn't gone up to the room yet. I had just checked in. I left. I didn't even go back to my room.
I would have been gone too. But so what was this whole event? Was there a name to it, if you can divulge? Or?
So I don't want to divulge it,
Fair enough,
I guess.
fair enough.
But they called it a precursor to CES. There's an event that's going to go on in Vegas around the crypto, blockchain, NFT space in September. So this is kind of like they're building it up as this precursor to CES, which happens in January of every year. So that's what this was about, and that's how they got me there. And they gave me all these, like I said, they were paying for my room, they were paying for my food, transportation around town, all this other stuff. And I only showed up because I was there anyway. I would have not made a special trip down there, although I think they would have taken care of my airfare too. But I'm serious. I felt like I was targeted for something here.
You were. The question is what and why. And did you know any of the other people there?
Nobody.
Did you Nobody.
A soul. Not a soul.
And they were not 50 of the brightest people in the world.
No, at least they didn't. I mean, maybe there were some bright people. There were bright people in the room. I'm not saying they're not, but they're certainly not at the level of like an Elon Musk and whatever. I mean, these are not. These are people that have. They were all pitching something. That's all this was, in my opinion.
But they knew who you did. They
all knew who I was.
So this was deliberate.
This is what's interesting about this. They all came up to me and introduced themselves to me, and I'm like, how? And yes, I had a name tag on from the other place, but this is not why they knew me. And I actually took my name tag off after a while, and they still knew who I was.
That's interesting. So you could probably call what we'd call in the business, you're a whale. Nothing in particular to how you look. Right? So I'm just saying.
Well, but you're in Vegas, and Vegas used to be about whales.
Right.
Because you get that whale in the room,
right,
and then you soak them for all the money.
So in the email world, right, you have spear fishing, right? Then you have whale fishing. But there's also the social side of this, which is occurring now, where they actually will try to target an individual for something in the future, right? Don't know why, have no objective, but when I know who Marlo Anderson is, what he's involved in, and the property that is your business being National Day, I'm just wondering why, for what purpose? Are you a mechanism? Are they going to use you for something or your business for something? That's the real question. Or are they going to target your business to propagate some message? I would be concerned about that. So it's something, you want to dive a little deeper in, and we can professionally do that outside this broadcast to keep some stuff private and actually use some tools to go figure out who these people were and why, and then maybe look into a little bit into your background, what's actually out there. So when you talk about this project, this top secret project, how many people do you estimate know?
I'd say 15.
So 15, it's tough to keep a secret with 15 people.
That is true,
Right.
but most of the people in that group of 15 don't even know what the project really is about. I mean, they understand the mechanisms of it, but they don't, I mean, what it's going to do, they just don't understand how it does it.
So my guess is there's ways that once they have your contact list, your friends, through social media or through other means, then they start listening and doing background checks, and then maybe they come up with something common.
See, now that's what I was worried about. I'm like, Marla, do I have to worry? Because
Yeah, you probably
I'm in your
should.
contact list.
So, I mean, people go after that all the time. And the strange thing is when you're in a mobile world, and I know you are extremely mobile and use the tools more than probably a laptop
Right.
today. So all of a sudden you have everything accessible and you give
I do,
rights
on
to
my phone, yeah.
And that's what's happening, and they're getting to those shared. Now, do you have malicious software on your phone? I can't tell you that. I haven't looked at
So
it.
I actually went and reset my phone
Oh, see that?
almost immediately.
You know, that's some of the best advice you can give to people out there. Now, you got to remember, you are, I believe, Android.
Yes.
How many people know how to reset their phone if they think something happened, though? The average person isn't going to know that.
Well, you're probably right. I mean, there's just you can reset it back to factory default, and then you bring all your stuff because it's saved in the cloud, so you can bring everything back down.
Most people are lazy. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, see, that's the other thing I would worry about. Once you reset it, you're still bringing everything back.
Well, but I would say that I trust Google to know that I'm bringing in malicious, that they're not going to store malicious software on their stuff, right? I mean, I trust them more than I trust myself with that because they have a lot more to lose than I do.
They do, but we'll talk about this maybe in another segment about
Okay.
what's out there is what just happened with Google Authenticator. So there's some.
Oh, I don't know about this.
Yeah, there's some very interesting stuff that's just coming out there. And
Interesting.
So when you start using multi-factor authentication, I believe Marlo Anderson probably does.
I do.
Or two-factor authentication at a minimum. So I would worry about that in the contact list.
The Tech Ranch.
Create the
Tech Ranch. Let's get back to discovering the latest in technology with the guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
So I just want to reiterate here too that, you know, I know I'm maybe a little more public figure than most people are, but this can happen to anybody, right? I mean, there might be reasons for whatever reason, you know, that people might want to target you or somebody in your family or whatever. So the only reason I'm even sharing this story, because I would never share this story if I didn't think that other people, you know, wouldn't be impacted by it.
Actually, it was
But-
kind of fun because I was talking to you the next day, and I kept throwing things in that was kind of freaking them out.
Yeah, stop freaking me out. But I do think that. I think that everybody's at risk here.
Right.
So this is why I'm sharing this story, because this is not something I would normally share with people.
And my question, John, is so going back to the information side, because he did not know this person, and how easy was it to, well, being close proximity in something as, oh, hey, I'm going to rub somebody's shoulders that I don't know, but do they
And
have a
of course,
device?
so my cell phone's in my
that's-
back pocket,
And she's behind
Yeah.
you.
and she's behind me doing this.
So for her to have a skimming device, I mean, they come in all shapes and sizes and
They can be
forms.
your
and
phone, right?
They
You can
can
have
be
on your
your
phone,
yeah.
they can be your phone. It's RFID. It's NFC.
yep.
But also Bluetooth. We got to forget about that. If you enable Bluetooth for certain functions, allow people to see my network, connect
Right.
to my network. You just kind of do that because it makes it easy to come in and be connected right away. So you had 3 possible attack vectors standing behind you, giving you a massage. That's more than creepy, I guess. I don't
Kinda
even know.
creepy.
And then on top of it, they're invading your personal space. They're touching you and having this sultry voice, I guess, talking to you. It would creep the hell out of me. I don't know if I can say that on there.
You just did. You're fine.
So, but
Hell yeah.
hell yeah.
Well, I think we should scare people a little bit here
Well,
about how easy this
I mean,
is.
you
Because
should.
I was playing with Marlo the rest of the weekend and sending a message, and I talked to him when he got back, and legitimately he was freaked out by it, and I'm like, yeah, you should be.
I'm just surprised at how easy this took place, and I still don't 100% know for sure how she got this information, but my best guess is this massage thing that she did.
And my
to me.
takeaway is you're the guru of geekdom, and I'm not. And you could walk into something like that. I'm like, how easy is it for the average person on the street to lose their personal information in something as simple as somebody bumped into them on the sidewalk?
So if I have up until that time, I used to pay with my phone a lot. I go up and I pay with NFC as opposed to a credit card. I tap my phone, pays my bagel bill or my coffee bill or whatever. It's
convenient, right?
Oh my goodness, it's so convenient.
It's a wonderful technology.
Yes. But as I was digging into this afterwards, you start to think about, wait a minute, there's like no security on this whatsoever, because the only way it really works is if there is no security. Because if you have to put a password in every time, for example, what good is that?
What's the convenience, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got the tap to pay with your credit card, right? That's kind of cool.
Kind of cool.
I know I've heard noise around. I actually have not seen that happen or heard or somebody contact me directly. Oh, I've tapped my card and it's taken something. What I do know that when it comes to phone, anything RFID, NFC, Bluetooth, that is part of what we do in our businesses. We have devices that we will put on even in a backpack. They're bigger and be further away. So you don't have to be very close to you to do this. That's the other scary part about this. So you can actually wear a backpack, walk around, and proximity helps. But if they're using near field communication, that was probably if I had a guess, I would probably point there. I wouldn't even point to Bluetooth.
So how fast is that, like, compared to Bluetooth? I mean, can they change? Is the transfer rate pretty significant where they can pull a lot of
It's
stuff?
decent. I just don't know how wide the bandwidth is to how much data can come down. I don't know off the top of my head. I do know that you can move stuff pretty quick, but it sounds like she was massaging you for at least a minute.
Well, I don't know if it was that long, but it was a while.
Felt like a long time, right?
Yeah, well, I was uncomfortable for a long time.
And then, the other thing is she could have been standing behind you for a while and got closer. All of a sudden, now she gets the signal. And now I know I need a little more time, just that little bit more time. But maybe that's something for another topic. I can do a little research on.
So I got a question.
Sure.
Just going back to layman, me. So I use my phone, and I have a phone case with my credit cards and everything that's in here. My phone's my wallet. Do I need to look, or should people look at having those protective cases or the shielding for their phones and their credit cards? What does that look like in today's
Do they
day and
even
age?
work?
Yeah,
That's the other thing. Do they work?
So they have to be certified. I believe if that card is certified by the FCC, you're probably in business, right? Because they're looking at it. And there are some out there that do that. And I have not tried this, but it'd be interesting because you have those cards or the protective sleeve for your credit card, right? You can get things for your phone, but there's actually cards that you can carry. So Steve, I know I'm not going to say how you carry your phone and wallet, but knowing what I do, I know you could slip something in there to probably protect both. Mm-hmm. So there's devices out there that will provide that jamming that you can carry.
I see. That's interesting.
Right. So
is this an expensive thing or not terrible?
Not terrible at all. I mean, what's expensive? Look what you just lost.
Well, that's true. But I'm wondering, but what's the barrier? Is it what
it's
I
not
spend $100?
Yeah,
it's not. $30?
I would say it's under $99 typically, right?
Okay.
So it's not a huge expense, but what's it worth? So if you can get the so-called jamming device, go back to when you drive down, you had the radar detectors, and you got radar jamming devices for speeding. Similar concept here.
Interesting.
Still,
Maybe you shouldn't be sharing that on the air,
Little
Steve.
lead foot. I'm just saying.
Funny.
Highway, not in town. That's okay.
Well, so that's interesting. So, and then like there's wallets, there's purses that you can buy that have these coatings in them. Tinfoil hats. I mean,
kind of like that too. They do. I mean, you even have them for your. I mean, think about your passport today too, right? So they have them to protect your passport. But and Kickstarter has some interesting things out there, as you know, as a subscriber sometimes.
Yep, I love Kickstarter.
So there's a few things coming out there that you can always look there for some of the latest and greatest. But for sure, there are jamming devices out there. I just call it a credit card jammer. and you can actually put that with your devices and cards to actually break that interference. But you as an owner have a responsibility too. When you walk into an area and you have Wi-Fi going, Bluetooth going, all these other connections, it might not be a bad idea to put your phone in airplane mode, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you're at something like this. Now you're going to lose messages and you can't connect, but in this situation.
So I should have known better. I mean, I've gone to White Hat before. I know you've been there as well. So White Hat, why don't you explain what White Hat is?
So there's three different hats in the cyber world, right? White hat are those for the good guys. They tell you how to do things. They do things for the benefit or for the good. Black hat is the other extreme. They are nefarious. They do it for money. And then the gray hat in the middle, they can kind of go both ways. And, they might come up and say, hey, Steve, guess what? You got that business out there. I found this flaw. If you give me about $25,000, I won't expose it. I'll just give it to you. You can look good and fix it and the good press, and you're balking at it. Well, guess what? They're going to flip the gray hat, front to back, and then go around and sell it. So they play the middle line. So that's what you're dealing with here. And you can think of it, the psychology of all three are dramatically different. But the white hat stuff we've talked about, you've got black hat in Vegas, right?
Well, you have basically
they got DEF CON there.
Right. You have all these events that go on there all the time. So if you go to a white hat event, they always talk about half the audience isn't white hat at all.
100%.
Yeah.
And half is just curious. But what's happening now with AI, and I don't know if that's a topic now or rather, it's a whole other ballgame.
Right.
It's 100% a different ballgame, and everybody needs to be in it right now, as scary as it is.
Well, one thing's for sure, when you go to any of the hat events, nobody has their phone on them.
Nobody has their phone on. You don't wear expensive jewelry. Yeah. You look as normal as you possibly can because they will follow you to your room.
The Tech Ranch.
Super Talk.
The Tech Ranch, as we explore the cutting edge of tech with Marlo and Steve. For more exclusive content, visit thetechranch.com.
So while we were talking, John, you actually did a little digging here as well. Multitasking, yeah. So you found this card.
Yeah, I knew there was a couple cards out there, and they have they have a product line, so different devices for different things. One for data, one for card. Not a promotion here, just to give people an idea what to look for. It's Armor Card. $29.95.
Made by Yarbo.
So Yarbo, this is your clue. You have to be a sponsor of this program. So we'll be going after them.
I love Yarbo.
Oh, I do too.
So there's different things out there, but if you can look for stuff, you have UL listed, right? That's always tells you it's good. So FCC approved, that type of thing. If you look for those type of devices, you'll probably be on the right track. But they're inexpensive. You might need different types for different types of things you're carrying. In other words, passport might be one type, your phone might be another, a credit card another. I would imagine at some point they will compress and become one, but we'll wait till that time comes. Yep. But so you do have options out there to try to block it, like the radar detectors, right? You get out there and you're driving along, instead of worrying about somebody beaming you for your speed, you just block their signal.
If you're just joining us, this is the Tech Ranch, of course. John Nagel, our guest today. We're really digging into, I had kind of a personal targeted situation here about a week and a half ago or so, and we're digging into that as well as what you can do to protect yourself. You should be situationally aware in this technology world that we live in, because there are so many ways people can steal your identity, steal your money.
So you're positive, Marlo, that it was for intellectual property, not just because you're so damn sexy, right?
Well, if you think old, fat, and bald is sexy,
it's the new sexy.
I'm starting to believe it is, actually, but at least in my own head. But yeah. But no, I do. I truly believe that there was something nefarious at foot at this event. And the thing is that anybody can be targeted. And with I know we're going to get into the Google stuff in a little bit, but I think about the ability to clone somebody's voice now. And if they can steal your contact information from your phone, they steal your voice, and all of a sudden John's getting a phone call from Marlo saying, "Hey, I'm in trouble. I'm in jail in Mexico." And
Zelensky's been calling everybody.
Yeah, you go. That's a big deal, right?
It is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
One of the things I was thinking of too, and John, your space, you'd have to go in and look into this further. But my question is, who though? Chinese, CIA,
I
NSA,
think, in my situation, I just think
or
I
the
really
black
think it
web.
was this event that they're trying to promote. I mean, when I really think about it, I think they were trying to get me somehow or another involved so that they could use my image or whatever to help promote this event that they're doing.
It could be, right? And you've done a lot of projects and inventions and businesses in your career. And who knows how they all tie together, but you're still Marlo Anderson, founder of National Day Calendar. That has a lot of clout. And so I think it might be a little bit more. I just don't know. I've been sitting here pondering this for a while, and
National Creep Me Out Day.
You know what? There's a brand new day for National Day. Creep Me Out Day.
Creep Me Out Day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
My case, it's
I'm glad
spiders. Your case, it's the web.
I'm glad you're pondering this. I've been pondering it too because I really don't quite understand their end game yet. But we can talk about a little off
Well,
air sometime.
Yes, we should.
Yeah.
But for those out there listening to, brand is everything. Your brand is who you are, and you tarnish that brand, you've got a problem, right? So there's so many different things you can do in this cyber world to turn somebody's life upside down, turn their brand upside down, their product upside down. And there's tools that can be used, which we use, to figure out who's doing what or what is actually happening out there, what's being said, so we can do a dig. Like you said, we can talk about this offline. But for everybody listening out there, your brand is everything. Your name is everything. And you should probably just Google yourself. And use, heck, might even want to use Bing because they're using AI. You might get a different search.
Yeah.
And heck, use AI to Google yourself. It'd probably even be better yet. But I would at least try those three things if you're out there and just to go see what's out there about you.
So when you say to do that, what you're looking for information that might not be the information that you'd want to have out online.
Information that's outlined, or maybe you put something out there. You want to make sure it's in the right light and what you intended, just to double check. Right?
You want to make sure it's accurate. Because I remember when Wikipedia came out, there was a lot of people that would go wiki themselves and go, wait a minute, that's not right, because everybody had access to it.
I've had that issue myself. I mean, I've had to just, actually go in and ask somebody to fix things in Wiki because they were way off. And
that's the same thing, right? You want to see what's out there, but more importantly, what you don't know out there is what could really hurt you. And you always hear the people, hey, you go apply for a job, and the next thing you come in and go, yeah, Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so, you know what? We found this out there. And the guy goes, you see that commercial? There's stuff out there, or affiliations. I know there's, several John Nagels out there, and some of the stuff coming up, I'm going, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want to be associated with that.
That's the wrong John Nagel.
Yeah, that's it. Now there's only one Marlo Anderson, as we know.
Right.
So that, I mean,
well, and I've looked up, there's multiple Steve Baugans. I mean, there's an actor in Hollywood. There's a musician who actually came from Grand Forks, where I grew up.
Yeah.
So we would get confused quite a bit.
Sure.
Musician down in Minneapolis, and really good musician, which I'm not, so it's hard to confuse the two of us. But and then there's another one with a pretty lengthy criminal record. Definitely not me, but also a North Dakota individual.
Right.
So, yeah, those lines get blurred a lot.
And you forget about checking that. The social media side is so huge when it comes to cybersecurity. And if you think about how Marlo was targeted, it started there. They may have known who you were. They've got an event. They have an objective. They have a purpose. Now they're defining the attack vectors or goals or even positive things to achieve what they want to do. And you happen to fit a narrative. So the real question is why? And then what else did they get?
So in my case, I political aspirations done, did my duty, civic duty.
You mean you're not running for president?
Maybe.
Well,
Trump's running mate, maybe. But don't use social media. I just don't. It's not worth my time, my effort. That's also the wrong take of it too, because if you're not active and following your own social, who is what's out there?
Yeah, could somebody create a Steve Bakken out there?
You see that all the time. Yeah. It's like, oh, hey, I got a friend request from, I know that really hot chick.
And you're starting to see, the real, John Nagel, for example, or whatever,
Correct.
because people are tired of having these, false accounts pop up or whatever. So.
Well, you even look at Twitter, right? You got the blue check.
Right.
And it wasn't that hard to get a blue check, But all of a sudden, when you had to pay for the blue check, it changes the game. So for
Did
me,
it really though? Because anybody could just pay for the blue check.
Yeah, but the difference is it's a barrier. You know,
Yep.
if it's free, that's one thing. I'll create 1,000 false accounts, but if it's $15, now you're spending $15,000 to do the same exact thing.
But if you want to really do damage to somebody or
absolutely still could do
someone,
that, yeah.
then
If it's just a
$15
one-off,
is nothing.
No, that's
no,
correct.
and it makes it harder though, right? Every little barrier, you got to remember the people that are actually out there in the cyber world, they want it easy and quick. If you have one or two barriers, they'll go on to the next real quick because they don't have time for that.
It's like the burglar going down the block, right?
Right.
They're only
Yeah.
going to burgle a house
That door's
that are not
locked. That door's
Yeah.
locked.
Yeah.
Oh, no light, no
Yep.
dog, and
Yep.
that door's open.
Yep.
and there you go.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, great segue because we're talking about the authentication side, the
Correct.
social media. So that we're going to get into the Google and the Google authentication and the cloud. Okay, John, fill us in.
So everybody talks about you
the
need
multi-authentication. That's
Yeah,
where people are.
multi-
Oh, that's the solution to a lot of stuff now.
So what people don't understand about multi-factor authentication, it is fantastic, right? But it can be hacked like everything else. And then from day one, people have been attacking it and figuring ways around it. But that said, it's a ticket to play. It's a must-have in today's world. So you have different authenticators out there. And the biggest three that I'll mention is Authy, Microsoft, and Google. They work really well. What's really cool about those things is you can get a code back. You go log in, it gives you a code back. Are you who you say you are? You can go yes. Now they're pushing numbers in, so you have to actually enter a code with it. It's fantastic. Now take it to the next level. What if I can actually take my authentication and move it to the cloud so now I can sync with all my devices, how convenient is it? Just like we talked about, with going and paying with your phone.
Right.
I don't ever
Fantastic.
do that because my computer all the time, Google comes up, hey, save this password. No, I don't want that saved somewhere
Yep.
that in a cloud. Am I wrong or am I right?
It depends. I kind of like the cloud. I'm a big fan of the cloud.
I always think about who has more to lose.
Exactly, right?
And I always think, and I'm not just picking on Google, but Microsoft or whatever, they have a lot more to lose than I do. So if they actually have an issue, and you think about Target and when their credit card system was hacked, so to speak. Target's the one that lost in that whole deal.
They did.
They lost big time in that. They lost billions of dollars overall in lost business and everything else because of a trust factor. So I always think about who has the most to lose, and that's where I put my trust most of the time.
So when it is, but you got to trust something, right? At some point, we all have to trust, but maybe it's you trust and then verify or something, or you hear the verify trust thing. What comes first, chicken and egg? So we all have to make our own decision. What works for us as individuals, but what works for businesses is another game. So when you talk about these authenticators and they bring it into the cloud and now you can sync, you're thinking everything's encrypted in there, every little thing going across that wire, end-to-end encryption. Well, everybody was cheering when Google came out and said, guess what? We're going to have the cloud, Android users, iOS users. God, we can sync our devices up. What happened and what came about was they found out that once you turn on Cloud Sync, that yes, the transmission was actually encrypted, but the actual storage of your keys was not. So I see Marlo. I wish.
Marlo his eyes.
So
See, where did you put your faith?
And so some people, when it came out, that was tested. There's always the white hats, right?
Yep.
So this group came out and checked this guy. Hey, this is really cool, but let's double check it. And they came out and they found it. They acknowledged it. It's out there. You can check on Twitter. You can get all the information you want on that feed. So Google is going to go after that. But the good news here, just don't turn on sync for right now. If you do that, you're going to be okay. But you wouldn't have known, right? You think that, my little encryption part or my little ID or storage number, I'm all safe. It's good. And transmitting across the wire, wonderful. It works. But stored is a different thing. That's why we always talk about data being encrypted at rest. That's so important when you talk about the cloud, Steve, that when that data sits up there and it's not moving, it needs to be encrypted.
I don't know if you remember this, John, a couple of years ago. You and I had this conversation actually on the old program. And the day that Congress decided that all people who had drones had to register them, remember they threw up that website? It was like live in like 6 weeks because they had to there was some type of date they had to put this out by, and I go on there to register my drone and ask for my social security number. I'm like, why do you need my social security number to register my toy drone? I mean, I didn't understand this. So I didn't do this. And then I realized that it's not even a secure site. And literally 2 weeks later, there was all this news about, the 500,000 people that registered their drones that now had their information hacked away because of this.
And it's stored somewhere, right?
And, yeah. That's
and if it has been hacked, you may not know, but it's on the dark web. You can
Right.
When we talk about the dark web, you got the surface web, the deep web, the dark web, and then that other web that everybody talks about that exists. I've never found it, Marlo, but there's another one, right?
So you haven't scoured the entire internet yet?
I have not.
Okay.
I mean, Steve probably has, but
I've reached the end of the internet. I'm done.
So just to come back a little bit to that, so is that we talk about encryption? Did they store your social security number encrypted? Who has access to that? Who can decrypt that? And by the way, as you're typing it in on the screen that you're typing, is that encrypted now? And where's that going to? And you hit enter. All right, it takes off. You got a header and footer package, but is the payload encrypted? We don't know that. Yep. And so that's essentially what happened here with this authenticator with Google. Still a great product. I use it today. I have not turned on CloudSync. Luckily, I haven't turned it on before this article came out. I have not done that. But what was interesting in this article that actually came out too is that even while this information is stored on their servers, they might likely have access to it and see it. So being a conspiracy theorist, and when it comes to cybersecurity, well, if the government wants to come looking for something, can they just go to Google or Apple and ask for that information or subpoena it? Then what? I don't know. And that's a little crazy thinking. But when you go back to the San Bernardino killer that had the his iPhone, they couldn't break into it, send it to Israel, and eventually got in, which they had the tools. You start thinking about those things. Now, I don't have anything to hide. Marlo doesn't have anything to hide. Steve?
Well, a little bit.
Yeah, so.
He's got some skeletons that we don't want to know about.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, think of it this way, though. It wasn't that long ago, and we're all from North Dakota. Wasn't that long ago that your social security number was your driver's license number on your driver's
Believe it or not,
license.
it drives me crazy that it's not anymore because I always need that number.
The Tech Ranch.
Super Talk 12-7.
Us on the Tech Ranch. Let's rejoin Marlo and Steve as they guide us through the fascinating world of technology.
And if you're just joining us, Mr. John Nagel in studio, our cybersecurity specialist, Beck Communications, and the name of your company.
Cybernet Security by Beck. They acquired us a couple years ago because they saw the relevancy and the trajectory of where cyber is going, especially in telecommunications, critical infrastructure. So that's what we do.
And we're talking about ways that there are ways that maybe people who are more public or whatever are targeted or whatever, but everybody can have these type of scenarios. And one of them is juice jacking. What the heck is juice jacking?
There's these wonderful, we have a bunch of acronyms, but we have some really cool words sometimes.
Yeah, we do.
So here's juice jacking. So juice jacking is this need for power, right?
Right.
You carry your phone with you. Oh crap, I'm out of juice. I'm at an airport. What do I do? Or public charging stations is really where this evolved from. And you go up and you charge your phone. You plug it in. Hey, this is all cool. Well, who could ever think of...
Because there's a cord dangling there that's got USB 3 or whatever you need to plug it in.
And it's got 5 different connectors on there, and I can connect anything
Other
to
people's phones are sitting there getting charged.
Yeah, you set it down and away you go.
Yep.
And you're thinking, oh, this is fine and safe. The problem with that is that inside that jack, there's more than 4 wires, Dave, but typically there's 4 wires. 2 are for data and a couple for charging. Red and black for charging, typically, if you crack them open. The problem is you plug them in, they're all 4 connected. So now you got a data connection. And that's where the issue comes in. So when you go out and plug these in, there's been a lot of chatter. And this has been going on for multiple years now. And it got raised again by, the FCC, got raised by FBI, CISA, et cetera, that, hey, this is becoming a problem. The interesting thing is I've never heard of it happening to anybody. I know of it. I know it's 100% possible because I've got cables to do it with. being in this business. So when you plug that in, it comes to your phone. What it actually does, it'll connect. It'll actually take and send some data down that line to your phone to put some malware on it. You won't know it's there. And then as you start to move away, it takes hold and it'll start to execute itself. So now you've been jacked, and then it'll send and transmit that data via cellular or other, or allow them to get in and get contacts. So, anywhere you go, you see those charging stations, it's a convenience. We need power. Everybody needs more power. And Tim the Toolman Taylor, right? I was just waiting for the show reference here. But so when you talk about that, what do, right? Everybody has portable little chargers, but it's weight. I've got my 400 milliamp, 1200 milliamp little charger, but you're carrying it again. Oh, should you have lithium ion batteries on the plane? Probably not. So what do? You take off and you plug in. Go ahead.
So the question then is, we're talking about the cord that's dangling there.
Correct.
We're not talking about you bringing your own wall jack charger and plugging it into the wall. We're not talking about. Are we talking about, okay, there's a USB port
I was going to ask that question too.
And I've got my own cord.
Yeah.
Do you trust that USB port?
I don't trust anything like that, to be honest with everybody.
Because the cord you have, everything's connected, right? I mean, it's a data cord as well as a power cord.
So here's a couple of things for everybody. You can just go buy a charging cord, period. Doesn't matter what's in that USB jack.
So what do you look for when you go, okay, I'm going to be traveling and I want just a power cord, no data? Is that a 2, 3? How do you see that on the box when you buy that cord?
It just says power charger cord only. You can specifically look for that. It'll say phone charge cord only, no data transfer. When you plug your phone in right away, it comes up. You plug it into your PC, and hey, would you like to connect?
Exactly.
Those are those other lines in there. So those are the ones you don't want. So you can go out and buy the cords charging only. There's another little trick too. If you're an Apple user, take your cord and hold it up to the light. If you can see light on both sides of it at the corners, you're probably okay. If it's dark, that's a bad cord. 100% they're using, yes. So 100% you can. That's one way to do it. Is it 100% foolproof? I don't know. I can't answer that. But I know if I can't see through it, I probably might have a problem.
Right.
And you can buy these cords. People can lay them out there to plug in. So,
but if you have your own block,
and
you plug into a power outlet,
you're fine.
Then you're fine because it's you. Because there's no way that data is being taken over electrical lines.
100%, right? So
yet.
Data is possible. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, in fact, you can still buy these things. You plug them into your power outlet, and it moves in or it moves your network.
Look at fiber. Lines. Fiber has the ability for carrying electricity and carrying.
But I'm going to guess that block that you buy, there's no data transfer that's going on at that block. So even if that receptacle could move data, there's no way that block's going to let it go through anyway.
It wouldn't because there's no connector for it.
Exactly.
It's just positive, negative.
That's
right?
exactly right.
There's nothing else out there. So, and there's a couple other things out there. And I know this might sound a little crude. I don't intend it to be, but go to Amazon or go to the web, and they're called USB condoms. And they are just little things you can carry in your pocket, size of a quarter. You plug that in first, and then plug your cable into it. That'll take care of you.
Really?
But it's really nice to have, right? They're inexpensive. Buy them a 5-pack for $10, $20, but you've got them. So if you lose one, not a big deal. But it's easier to carry that sometimes than a big power pack yourself. That weight in your backpack seems to get heavier and heavier and heavier. So if I can find little things like that to help, it's
depends
fantastic.
on which airline you're flying to.
Yeah, that's the other one too.
Yeah. Well, interesting. So, are there other little things out there besides juice jacking? And we're going to get into Wi-Fi in the next segment, but anything else that you can think of where people can easily steal your data as you're walking around?
So the data, not so much. When I think of physical data, I'm talking about documents that you have stored on something. What's interesting to me in this field is having people connect to something, public Wi-Fi. And being able to not recognize, is that actually Starbucks or Starbucks, right? And those are very easy to put up.
Well, I always ask that if somebody goes, hey, you need to download this app. And I'm like, okay, show me the picture of the app that you think that I need, because there's little nuances that could be different. You and I had
Even-
a conversation
even on
about
the apps, yeah.
acorns,
Yep.
and there's acorn, there's acorns,
Yep.
there's a bunch.
It's
of
all of
different
that,
variations. Hey, one other question on
Yeah.
the charging thing too. What about charging pads?
Charging pads, I haven't seen an issue with it, but you think about it, they were giving away a bunch of them at a show I was at this week. You plug them in, you set your phone up on there, and away you go. I haven't talked about that one yet, but I'm just wondering if some of those are out there too that can be jacked that way.
You know,
could
you're
have
talking.
Bluetooth or something.
Yeah,
built
that's
into
what
these.
I'm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
and
could.
NFC field.
NFC or whatever. Yeah,
So
I never
that-
thought about that.
The other thing too, and this going back a little old school, going to different conferences and businesses used to hand out the USBs.
Oh, don't ever pick those up.
Don't ever
No,
pick those
no,
up.
$1 million no. Leave those alone. Don't go there. But the last thing that here, just to go back to the public Wi-Fi thing, you can sit down at Kirkwood Mall right here in Bismarck, North Dakota, and you can put up your own little Wi-Fi. We use some tools out there, and you can just sit there and just sit right in the middle of Kirkwood Mall at a bench and just relax with your computer. And it's funny how people walk by and they'll connect. And when they connect and then, I want to log into something. Connecting is one thing, but as soon as you log into something, now your password, now your login name comes right across. And people don't think about it. So public Wi-Fi, not a bad thing, but please use a VPN. Use some type of encryption mechanism if you're going to go do banking. Just don't do that.
And make sure that you're connecting to somebody that you trust. I mean, if
Well,
you're
that's
going to be
the-
at a place, if you're at Kirkwood Mall, for example, and like you said, there's a misspelling in it or just another nuance
Yeah.
to it, you need to make sure you're connecting to the one. Because, I've been in Vegas many times, and I look at the Wi-Fis that are
my
available,
gosh.
and I would bet that half of them are hackers. Just waiting for you to
100%.
get in there.
If you have any questions or want to suggest topics for future shows, visit thetechranch.com and send us your thoughts. You can also listen to past episodes and watch exclusive interviews not featured on the radio show. Be sure to follow Marlo and Steve on social media by clicking the links at thetechranch.com. Until next time, keep exploring the world of living with technology. The Tech Ranch.
Open Water Marine and Tuffy Boats are proud to bring you the Mike Peluso Outdoors Fishing Report. Tuffy Boats have a storied history and are versatile for any body of water that you choose to fish. The affordable, no-nonsense, rugged, and durable design is why the Tuffy is the boat of choice for Mike Peluso Outdoors. Open Water Marine is pleased to bring you both the Mike Peluso Outdoors Fishing Report and Tuffy Boats. Join us every Friday between 4 and 5 on this station for the Open Water Marine Mike Peluso Outdoors Fishing Report.
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Chuck Severson. Two potential rivals are in the same state on the same weekend. Former President Trump holds a rally in Des Moines tonight. as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis travels through Iowa. Telling what she's looking for from candidates, one of the Des Moines locals, Katie Hyde.
To actually quit putting their own agenda first and care about us, the people, and not worrying about who's going to pay them to promote whatever. They need to start working for us, the people they're supposed to be looking out for.
Whoever gets the official nod will go up against the man addressing Howard University commencement today in Washington, talking about what he calls his battle for the soul of the nation, President Biden.
It's a battle that's never really over. But on the best days, enough of us have the guts and the hearts to stand up for the best in us, to choose love over hate, unity over disunion, progress over retreat.
Vetoing an abortion bill at a rally in Raleigh today, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper. The bill would ban abortions at 12 weeks, with some exceptions. The Republican-controlled legislature could vote to override the veto. Though there are a lot of people applying for asylum at the southern border, it's not the huge wave many had feared, according to local officials at border cities. There's a concern over the conditions of makeshift camps for migrants in Matamoros, Mexico, near the border, says ABC's Will Carr, who is there.
They're in makeshift tents made of tarps and tree branches. They're surrounded by trash. Many have been there for months, but the majority are willing to still be patient, and they say they're trying to go through the proper process by applying for an asylum interview through the CBP One app, although they say they're having consistent problems with that app.
At least one death, several injuries, and damaged homes after a tornado near South Padre Island, Texas. You're listening to ABC News.
The end of the road with KISS. Here is the next code for your chance to attend this historic concert in December.
Jewels, Jewels, Jewels.
Enter that code into the free SuperTalk 1270 mobile app now. It's the end of the road with KISS on SuperTalk 1270.
Millions estimate their benefits online, so they can do what they want offline. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
You care for the house, the kids, and our future. A Shiro's day is never done. So let's start saving a little more now. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro.
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Showtime! High school hockey, football, and basketball. Hear the play-by-play with Rob Meltzer. It's all right here on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 app.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome to the Tech Ranch, where we explore the world of living with technology. Get ready to take a deep dive into the latest gadgets, apps, and innovations with your hosts, the Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson, and his trusty co-host, Steve Botkin. Join us on this exciting journey, and don't forget to visit thetechranch.com for even more exclusive content. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Marlo and Steve to the Tech Ranch.
I guess they let anybody in this studio.
They let us in.
Well, that's true.
You paid me to come in.
What?
You got paid for this?
I did get paid.
What are we doing wrong, Steve?
I got paid in acorns. It wasn't money.
That's that squirrel thing going on.
It is the squirrel thing we have here.
So yeah, just like that, the executive director of job service here in North Dakota, Patrick Bertinelli, just walks in the door.
Out of the blue.
How you doing, Pat?
I'm doing great. It's nice to join you guys today.
Appreciate it. I'm glad that we don't even have enough mics for everybody here, so hopefully just share a mic there, you guys. But so you have the distinction of finding people in our neck of the woods, or other places, I should say, try to get them to come here
Can you
and work.
find Marlo Stalker?
Yeah, yeah. We'll start there.
Yeah.
So, how long have you had the job?
Just over a year.
Okay.
So I got recruited out to North Dakota from Montana, spent 22 years with UPS, and said no to North Dakota the first time I got asked to come here. And I got encouraged to come take a look at it, and I did, and I fell in love with the sense of community and belonging, and that's what got me, and so I absolutely think that's our strength.
And you have a fascination for tech obviously. We had dinner the other night. That was a lot of fun. And this crazy guy, John Nagel, here as well. And I think you two have quite the conversation occasionally. So tell me
My question is, who picked up the check?
The other night? Neither one of us. These young ladies took us out for dinner.
Oh, did you get another massage?
They didn't get a massage.
Okay.
Did you get a massage out of
No,
the
I did not.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And a little more to the story. We were speakers for the IABC, and
there we go.
so it was a question and answer and mentoring opportunity for us
I
to
love how
work
he
with.
turned red, too.
I didn't come here to get arrested.
See, now that was a very important part of the story,
It
though,
was.
and a very interesting part,
Yes,
and that
yeah.
needed to be told.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. They took us out because we, ended up sharing some of our knowledge, and they thought that we should have dinner. That was kind of nice of them. So, yeah. So, in the cybersecurity space in North Dakota, I mean, do we have job openings here?
Yeah, I don't even know how to answer that.
Okay.
Because it's not, do we have job openings? We have more than we could even dream of, and most of them aren't probably even being posted because you can't find anybody. We have roughly, in our industry, over 2 million open jobs in cybersecurity alone. And in the state here, we have probably 2,500 cybersecurity professionals in the state. You think that's a lot. It's not near enough. I mean, the state of North Dakota has between 50 and 60 alone, just them.
Okay.
So for me to find somebody, I've had jobs open for months, and you end up recruiting anywhere using different mechanisms. So there's different things going on in the state, and I was talking to Pat, and I said, we're talking about cyber here a little bit, and Marlo has some stories to share, but I asked him, I said, do you mind coming down for a moment here? Because in our field, to try to find people, we almost have to rob Peter to pay Paul perspective, right? So when I start to recruit, I'm taking somebody away in this state from another business that actually needs them. It's not what I want to do.
That could be the job service app.
Yeah.
Here's the recruitment app. All right.
There you go.
Call it that.
But when you think about what do we do, how do we do it, and Pat's putting a lot of different things together here. He's just been there a year. The energy is great, and I think you even got some funding that has never been done before to help get this going. So I asked him to come in and chat a little bit about some of the things that employers can do, we can do as state people. And by the way, we're living here. We have connections all over the world. Why aren't we inviting people here? So I'm going to let Pat talk a little bit about it. I thought it might be really important for the audience to hear, especially in our space, but overall as it relates to jobs here in North Dakota and workforce.
Unlike the rest of us, Pat is prepared. He actually has papers with words on them.
Notes,
Yeah, I do have some
all
notes.
kinds of stuff.
And bifocals to read it.
Yeah, I do have Invisaligns. Yeah. No, I appreciate the opportunity, and John and I have been good friends. And, just a note about John, too, I actually serve on the CTE board, and we all know that we've got some momentum going on the cybersecurity side of things. So I've actually pulled John into some CTE training type things because we're going to certainly leverage his expertise in that and, really encourage our youth that are coming up through the systems and really, make sure that they're aware of all those great jobs out there that, really in John's world there. But, when I look at Burleigh County, Marlo and I got to speak at IABC yesterday, which was fantastic. And one of the things I kind of point out, and I'll just use Burleigh County as an example, we've got 99,280 people in this county. What I want people to understand is that 25.8% of those people were not born in North Dakota. So that's 25,614 people in this county right now that came from somewhere else. So it's demonstrated that it can be done. But my mission is really to find a way to inspire communities, to find ways to educate the entire communities about the open jobs and find ways, can we tap into that 25,614? Do they have friends? Do they have moms, dads, brothers, and sisters in those other states that they can get out here if they just even have awareness about those jobs? It may sound like pie in the sky, but I came from McKenzie County, the fastest growing county in the nation, and I saw this demonstrated. So it works. So I do think that we have opportunities as I do outreach around the state and go out to communities. I'm really asking people get off the bench and get in the game. And I was over in Rugby, North Dakota not too long ago and just had a wonderful time over there. Sue, one of their media folks, used to write for the Sacramento Bee. And I visit the hospital over there and I find out that there's 7 high school students working over there that are having a great experience. And I'm like, Sue, where's the story? And she ended up knocking out just an amazing story. And I said, these are the type of stories that people need to see from out of state, that we are very intentional about our youth and that we have opportunities to really help them on their trajectory and help them figure out where they fit in this world and building that culture that people absolutely want to be a part of. So we have tremendous opportunities, but it requires everybody to get off the bench, and we have to understand that we're competing against the entire nation, if not the whole world, to get labor here. So when I go to Rugby and some of these other communities, I'm telling them I want to hear you roar. And I want to know why people should move to your community, Bismarck, Cavalier, Grafton, wherever. And you have to be your best subject matter experts. And if you get somebody to come in your community, a busload of people exploring careers in your community, where are you going to take them? What are you going to tell them? What are you going to show them? Get your story straight. You got one chance to make a great first impression.
So what kind of impact does a labor shortage have on our region?
Well, obviously, we see the stress that's involved. People are doing more with less, and we're no different at Job Service North Dakota. We're down 105 FTEs over the past decade. But what has really inspired me about this team is that they've been knocked off that horse more than once. They get up, they dust themselves off, they get back on that horse, and they go to battle because we have an obligation for the state of North Dakota. But just the economic side of things, talking to John, I know he serves on the Economic Development Council, and we know that we have all these opportunities that are coming here, and our major barrier is workforce. So this is not any one dimension. I mean, it really takes 770,000+ people we have in the state of North Dakota to be an advocate for our state and help recruit people to the state of North Dakota. And my life has completely changed coming to North Dakota. And so part of my message, too, is that we have 15,786 jobs out there right now that we have open, that we know of, and it's likely a double number. But we need to see the forest through the trees, and we need to make sure that we understand that we have an opportunity to bring 15,786 people to our state to have a much better life. I've seen people find the best version of themselves coming to the state of North Dakota. I've seen people get opportunities that they have not had where they came from. So we have tremendous opportunity to, help people live a better life, and that's through the state of North Dakota.
Now, Pat, you mentioned the CTEs, Career and Technical Education, coming up K-12. Where's the focus? I know North Dakota had done some legislation as far as about some initiatives to get more of the computer side of things into the curriculum with Department of Public Instructions, DPI in North Dakota. There was a push to get, you need to have some cybersecurity in the classroom and educate kids on this next thing because a lot of people are falling behind. So where are we at with the CTE and building that into the curriculum for the kids? So as they're coming up in this new world, they're not going to run into situations like Marlo did at events, and you're cyber secure.
Yeah, and obviously I wasn't necessarily in the weeds on all those initiatives, but certainly supported it, and I know that Kirsten Baszler and Wade Sick were really tackling that. But, the piece that I really want to drive home, when it comes to these opportunities, I'm going to be hosting a work-based learning webinar. I think it's on July 18th is what we're scheduled to do. But being on the governor's cabinet, I went after, or I shouldn't say went after, but I went to Art with Thompson with Workforce Safety. He's ahead of that. And I said, Art, I need you in the show, and I need you to be an advocate for this. He said, count me in, Pat. And the reason I went after Workforce Safety is that I do know that employers out there, are worried about violating, rules and that type of stuff. I also went after Nathan Syhovic, who's the new North Dakota Department of Labor Commissioner. I said, Nathan, I need you in the show. He said, count me in. So we're bringing all these people together, and we're going to do a work-based learning webinar, and we're going to try to encourage as many employers across the state of North Dakota to get on this webinar. And it's really to educate them about, in my opinion, their obligation to get in the game and help these young people figure out where they fit in this world by creating those experiences, so that they can figure out where they need to go and what to do.
It's interesting you mentioned the WSI, the workforce safety, and people don't think about safety. They think about physical safety a lot, but the cyber safety, the cybersecurity side of that's to me is a big part of what WSI should be working on.
It is, and people. There's the physical security is one thing too, right? But there's actually physical and cyber, and even with what happened to Marlo earlier, that was a physical violation to start with, right? So you think about that, but when you think about cyber too, we don't hear much about that when we talk about workforce safety and how it's built in. And when you think about all the employees you have and the sensitive information you have about those employees, and more importantly, what those employees are doing at the job and where they're using their computers to go to, and intellectual property, it's significant. And I'd love to have that conversation. And I know Pat would be a facilitator for it, and Art's been fantastic. We just have to look at this from a different perspective when it comes to cyber. Cyber's in every part of our lives. Everything we do is connected. We're in a connected world. So there's benefits to that, but we got to think about the little drawbacks that could happen. And when you talk about employers today, you're protecting healthcare records. That's the number one record that is out on the dark web, the number one cost for those records, and everybody wants it because the information there is so significant to be able to leverage for ransomware and other information. And even think about, you know what? Hey, Steve, guess what? I found out about you. I got a healthcare information record on you. Maybe I don't want to hire you.
You know, it's funny because I go back to thinking about the company I work for, and they send out these phishing things. I just use it too, so I don't have to answer any corporate emails whatsoever.
The Tech Ranch. With us on the Tech Ranch. Let's rejoin Marlo and Steve as they guide us through the fascinating world of technology.
And in studio, Nolly, what is your job again, Pat?
Executive Director, Job Service, North Dakota.
Thank you for that. Yeah. And we have John Nagel. What is your job title, John?
CyberNet security guy. No, I'm actually the Chief Security Officer for Beck Communication and President of CyberNet Security by Beck.
All right. So we have two pretty amazing gentlemen joining us today. I just heard a rumor, Pat.
Makes up for the two of us.
I know. Well, that's the whole point. That's why I wanted them to actually say their job titles, because we would not have anything behind our name, Steve. That's
I'm just happy when I'm in the phone book.
I mean, that's true.
I'm a somebody now.
Speaking of phones, right? So I've heard this rumor that if we had a new area code, so that we would have 1 million new phone numbers in the state, that we could actually recruit more people to the state. Is that true?
You know what? I'll take 1 million phone numbers any day from my point of view, because it would be just an unbelievable opportunity to grab those numbers and figure out how to call Marlo or Steve from Ypsilanti, New York.
I just want more numbers to block. Ypsilanti, North Dakota.
Ypsilanti, North Dakota. Sorry.
Yep. Anyway, that's just a joke. But there's been rumors that actually, I think you had just said that there was a time we were actually discussing a new area code here.
Yeah, we were. It's one of those
things. We have to be pushing 1 million, right?
If you find out what that number is, let me know, though, because I could get the hats.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
1-800-BACHEN.
Instead of the 701, it'd be the whole line of 702 hats and all kinds of merchandise.
That's actually Nevada, 702.
Yeah. Well, okay.
So
whatever North Dakota would be.
Whatever it would be. You're right. We want to know in advance.
It's not as cool if we can't have back-to-back numbers.
Well, then maybe it's 700, but that wouldn't work either, right?
They don't do the zeros.
No.
Well, you know, we have 750,000 people. People have multiple phone numbers. Then you have the mobile side. Then you got Google Voice picking up 701 numbers and blocks controlled. So at some point, we're going to run out. And, carriers actually do have blocks for their own customers, things of that nature. So it'll have to be looked at, but there's still opportunity to grow. I don't think it's going to come in the next couple of years.
How many people really need that fax number they've had?
They can get rid of some of that.
Yeah, get rid of that. Yeah. Turn it back.
There's so many numbers that could go back in.
I think it should be 711, so that way we get a Slurpee with every phone call today.
Oh, I like that.
I'm just saying.
I like the way you think.
I think 7-Eleven would be all over that, right?
Cherry or blue raspberry, whichever one. I'm good.
Well, if they get to sponsor, maybe we get free phone calls.
Yeah, maybe so.
Run the new line in there. So
anyway, back to reality here. So the university system now. I mean, are we making inroads in North Dakota university system to help your scenario of having more cyber security experts coming through the pipeline?
100% the answer is yes. I mean, North Dakota is, I think, the first state in the country with K through 12 or K through PhD opportunities for cyber, and that's growing. But specifically to the university system, I had the privilege of being asked to help BSC, Bismarck State College, with their program, and now the University of Mary. But we have them at the other universities too. I believe Minot has something going, NDSU, UND. So there's absolutely the opportunity here to explore a career in cyber. We have the experts there. We have the right programs in place, and they're engaging the experts in the community and the business to help them out and create those programs.
Okay, my question, though, is when North Dakota, what we do is we address a problem, then we can educate out of it. With that model and building the education, with the cyber side of stuff, is there a way to get ahead rather than stay behind? I'm not talking about the job numbers. I'm just talking the technology, because I go buy a phone and 3 months later there's a new, better phone, and it's kind of like a car. The minute I drive it off the lot, it's depreciated. Well, technology moves that fast. Now you're looking at the AI world. How do you train somebody to be that nimble and that, I mean, you're in school nonstop if you're going to try to keep up with it, let alone get ahead of it.
So that's a great point, right? I mean, I've been in technology for 30 years, did hardware, did software, now you got cyber, then you've got AI coming. It's becoming a point where you can't be broad anymore and go deep. You have to start to specialize. So in cyber, we definitely have verticals, whether it's threat hunting, right? You know, you actually want to go look for threat, whether it's prevention, whether it's just creating the strategy and doing those type of things. But you have to start to specialize, and you do have that opportunity. So I do worry about that a lot. The other thing is, when it comes to cyber, the bad guys always know about stuff before we do, because they have the opportunity and volume and scale to get that new phone right away and start to break it down. Keep in mind, software is one way to get in, hardware is another way to get in. So they get that. And if you think about bringing that into the education system, the cost, the timing, the expertise to learn, it's impossible. So we will always trail. We're never going to get ahead of that, but we got to keep trying. We just got to keep moving forward. Software will make us better. Strategies will make us better. Having the people in the organization at the top of the organization saying we need to do this and put it in the budget, that will make us better.
AI. What about AI? Is that the solution? Because you know where I'm going to go with this, Marlo, because eventually, we're just going to have to turn it over to Skynet. But AI has opportunities to stay ahead or catch up, at least, right?
It does, and it's maturing quickly. I mean, when people started talking about AI, in January, it was really the fall of last year where you started to see it. But the proliferation and the speed is nothing that we've ever seen before. So when we use and leverage AI, we use tools that are AI based. They put us ahead of the game. I won't say what they are because I need to protect my organization, but you have to be looking at that. When it comes to coding or putting different malicious code in there to see what's wrong with it, it will actually take and intercede for you and give you back information at a speed a human just cannot. And I would say, and Marla may have looked at this a little bit too, you're probably in the 90th percentile of accuracy. Then you use your expertise to weed the rest out. So it's definitely going to be a game changer. It's definitely going to take away jobs, but it's also going to add a lot of jobs. And the other side, I'm always an optimist when it comes to AI. I think about the ability and what it can do in the medical space or even in the education space that we haven't even thought of. And at the speed it can do it, it'll be fascinating. But do we need bumpers and guardrails? Probably.
Interesting analogy. So I had something really funny to say, and now I lost that because I got caught up in your AI talk there. But
well, before you even go there, I talked a little bit about this to Steve a while back. Remember Isaac Asimov and his rules of robotics?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Let's just take those 3 robotic rules and use that for the legislation. Let's just keep it really simple. It talks about that, hey, the robot can't do anything bad to harm a human. Well, let's apply that to AI.
Right.
I mean, they're there. Why legislate things that you don't know enough about? And that's the number one concern I have is the experts that will actually provide the regulation are not experts in AI. And there aren't too many in the world. And, Google has 30,000 probably out of the 40,000 experts working for them.
So, I mean, you could you go back to the Industrial Revolution, right? And the amount of jobs that were created, there were a lot of people displaced during that, but we've been through this before.
We have.
Not at the rate of speed that we're experiencing this, though. I just seen these estimates just the other day, Pat. You might be interested in this, that 85 million people will be displaced in this country in their jobs by the end of 2025.
You thought you had to work now.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, it's going to create 97 million jobs. So, because the barriers to like small business, the ability for small businesses to scale quickly or even to start, because if an app, for example, costs $250,000, what happens if it only costs $5,000 or $10,000 now? I mean, how many more businesses can spin up and get started and then start adding staff? This is the thing I think that's going to happen.
In the cost of cybersecurity to a business can be prohibitive. Most businesses will not choose to do what they need to do, or they do it over years. And when you think how quick the bad guys move, or the bad actors or the adversaries out there, you can't wait a year. You need to be able to do that. AI is going to start to offer us tools that we can bring to small businesses here. I'm hoping by the end of the year, even in our region, where we can actually offer them at a subscription rate without having to have their experts in-house. That will change the game.
That will really change the game, actually.
The Tech Ranch
Super Talk.
She comes alive. Let's dive back into the conversation with Marlo and Steve. And don't forget to check out thetechranch.com for more.
Pat Bertinoli, the executive director of Job Service North Dakota. So, Pat, what'd you think of my numbers there?
I really don't know what to say to that. It's going to be interesting. On the AI stuff, I'm by no means a subject matter expert on that, but I can tell you we've actually got job seekers that are using AI to build resumes and that type of stuff. So certainly see the application, and we are in conversations in our leadership team about just the application and all that type of stuff. So it's going to be interesting, and I'm glad I have friends like you two so that I can kind of stay hopefully ahead of the curve.
Just so people aren't like scared out of their minds right now that they're going to lose their jobs. That's not the case at all here. This is job displacement. That probably means that you're going to find something that's even better for you. There's going to be just some jobs that are going to probably disappear, like at McDonald's. You're not going to have somebody probably taking your order anymore because there's going to be a kiosk. Wendy's this morning just announced that the drive-thru is going to be totally AI. When you drive through, you're going to have an AI greeting you.
You know what that AI is going to sound like?
Like Pat?
I said just can't get that technology fixed.
I said cheeseburger, French fries, and a large orange drink. One of my favorite songs of all time.
There's that new AI radio station out there today.
Yes.
Right? Multiple DJs, multiple voices. And oh, by the way, they get the weather at the top of the hour. They get the news flashes. They deal with it all. So maybe one day Tech Ranch will be all AI.
It already is.
Oh, that's true. Are we even real here today? Am I actually seeing you? I don't know.
No, this is the Marlo that was created by his cyber breach.
That's right.
That's true.
Yes.
So you are an avatar or a hologram
of myself.
Of yourself. Okay.
So anyway,
can't you tell he's thinner?
But yeah.
It's the holographic Marlo. He's thinner
and more hair.
Yeah. It isn't the stuff you were accusing me of putting me on my hair earlier. Yeah. So anyway, although it seems to be working, right?
I think you look fabulous.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and we won't talk about your hair. It still has the curl appeal that it used to.
It does. It's
as well as curb appeal.
It's my trademark.
It is your trademark.
It is a trademark. People will recognize me, and it's never going to go away as long as I can help it.
What about your hair, Pat?
I've got the low maintenance version. It's like a chain link fence.
Don't you love how we paint pretty pictures on radio?
It is. Well, we all look good on radio.
Yes. We all have
and Steve's in between
radio.
all four of us, or the other three of us here. Yeah.
We all have faces for radio.
We do.
So.
Absolutely. All right. So the Yarbo. Pat, you said you don't know what the Yarbo is?
I do not.
So
I got to get out more, I guess.
With the name Yarbo, what does that conjure in your head?
I don't even know.
Okay. Steve?
Well, it's the greatest creation of all time coming to a yard near you.
Yes. What will it do for your yard, Steve?
It'll mow, it'll rake, it'll blow. So all the grass clippings go away. A little bit of snow, you can blow that away too. It'll even take out your garbage.
Oh, it'll actually push snow around as well.
Yeah, it'll push snow around.
North Dakota snow?
Can you don a Fitbit on that?
Can you what?
Don my Fitbit.
Oh, that's a good idea. Then you could have your 10,000 steps at the same time.
Bingo.
Well, why not? Yeah, this machine is like an all-in-one maintenance machine
Can't
for your
you do
yard.
like everybody else and just strap it onto your dog? Come on. haven't thought of that yet?
I have thought about it, but
on my, in Samsung here, they have the health app, right? And I join the group every month. And how is it that somebody by the end of day 2 has 300,000 steps in?
They figured out the dog trick.
That has to be what they're doing.
Yes.
I just look at those numbers and I'm like, that's insane.
So you're in the Samsung Health app with a bunch of other people, and you wonder why you potentially have been targeted and hacked. I'm just saying. Okay.
What are you saying about Samsung people?
I'm not saying about Samsung people. Samsung's fantastic. I love Samsung, but I'm just saying,
Yeah, I know.
Something to ponder.
Shouldn't share at all.
So anyway, Patrick, the Arbo is the greatest future sponsor of the program and the greatest
They do not know
invention
this
of
yet.
all time, because I won't have to mow, I won't have to rake, I won't have to.
I'm installing my autonomous lawnmower this weekend. Though.
We're talking about the whole dog poop picker upper feature that we're going to make sure that Yarbo has. It's a lot of cool stuff there.
He's really excited, I can tell.
I'm just kind of, I don't know if you guys have heard of wellness. So I kind of think about that in terms of like getting a little exercise out there, and I'm kind of seeing that application there, and I'm kind of just wondering about that.
Well, if something's mowing your yard, you can still go jogging or go for a walk.
All right, well, that's a good point. That's a good point.
I'm just saying that if you don't have to do that kind of stuff, you can do other things with your family.
Okay, I'm thinking about mental wellness, so I don't have to listen to my wife yell at me about getting the lawn mowed.
Yes.
Or the dog poop picked up.
Right.
You're selling me.
Yeah.
You're selling me.
So you got to look at the whole picture. Mental wellness is a big piece.
And I understand the wellness piece too. I mean, sometimes you have to be forced to do these things to get a little exercise or whatever, right? But I'm just thinking that if you didn't have these things going on, you'd come home and your clothes are washed and dried and folded and put away.
Can the Yarbo do that too?
Your meal. I wonder if they're gonna have an indoor version.
I would hope so.
Yeah, that would be really amazing. So yeah.
It sounds like a brilliant opportunity for us cyber guys to go have a little fun with this machine, and the poor owners not know what's happening when we've hijacked it. I'm just saying.
It starts mowing messages into the yard.
Exactly. Or just starts driving off down the street. Away it goes.
Hey, now that's a whole nother space, because you've got those companies that go put all the little yard signs up. We can mow messages into the lawn.
Why couldn't we do that?
Congratulations or happy birthday.
There's toasters that do this now. You can buy a toaster and it'll come out and it'll have the Disney logo on there. You can actually program it to say happy birthday, Steve, or whatever, and that part of it toasts a little darker than the rest. Yeah,
I like it.
So how does that make my life more simple?
Well, it'll make your wife and your children more happy. So that will make your life happy.
Yeah, you don't have to go to the piece of bread and then paint the little turkey for Thanksgiving onto the bread in sunscreen.
You have done this before? Sunscreen. so there's turkeys on every piece of bread.
So I'll take the white meat, please.
Does that work?
I don't know.
I think it'd get darker.
I might try it now.
It might get darker now. Actually, that might. Yeah,
I'm actually going to go home and try it.
See, all these things create incentive to keep the kids at home forever. You need some automation tool to kind of push
them out of the
put them
basement.
out. Yeah, get them out. And get them into Pat Bertinoli's workforce.
You just actually reminded me what I was going to ask you. So, Pat, how are you transitioning our students from the university into jobs? How are you keeping them here in North Dakota?
Well, I think we certainly have some opportunities there. I mean, we in our workforce centers across the state, we're collaborating with the colleges, and they have their own career fairs as well. But I think it's just really about creating awareness about those opportunities that are here, and I think that really starts young. And Steve and I have talked about be more colorful and all that type of stuff with the virtual reality and creating these career experiences about the amazing in-demand jobs that we have in the state of North Dakota. So I do think we have to start planting those seeds early. And, we had the conversation last night, and they were talking about how do we further integrate those college students into our communities. And we talked about, do we take buses up there? Do we, find ways to integrate those folks in the community and make sure that they really have a great experience while they're here? And so I think those are some things that we could work towards as time goes on, is just making sure that people that do say yes to North Dakota and they're coming out here, we get them out there and show them what it's all about.
And what about culture in our state? I mean, is there a relevancy to the lifestyle that we have in our state as to, trying to keep people here or attracting people here?
That's a great question.
And are we missing something?
I think, are we missing something? I don't know if I'd say it that way, but I do think we have opportunity to get better at it. And so, like our virtual job fairs, we advertised in 6 states, and we drew in 29 states and 14 countries. So people are shopping North Dakota. But what I always tell people, too, I come from that generation where I live to work, and the up-and-coming generation, they work to live. So that tells us that it's not just about the organization and the job anymore. They're looking for a quality of life, and they're looking for a way to enjoy life and stuff. And so on our virtual job fairs, we're pulling in tourism, we're pulling in game and fish, parks and rec, and all that stuff, and just being more intentional about selling all the aspects of the great things that North Dakota has to offer.
I find, that one of the things that I've always wondered about, there are other places that are cold in the world, and they seem to embrace it, and they sell it. Why is it that we have a problem with that here?
I totally agree, and that's a personal issue that I have with the state of North Dakota. And I think Grand Forks has got that Way Cooler initiative over there, which I think is fantastic. But
it's windier there.
Yeah, windier. Yeah. But one of the last people that I helped while I was in Watford City was a doctor from Florida, came in to kind of explore the area as a hospitalist with McKenzie County Healthcare, and it was 35 degrees below zero. And I'd said to the ops manager at the time, because they pulled her up to the Rough Rider Center for a tour, I said, "It's a little cold out there, isn't it?" And she said, "It is." And I said, "Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, but if she gets a job, would it be inside or outside?" "Oh, it'll be inside." I said, 68 to 72 degrees. You can't beat that.
Well, and I always laugh about this. I don't know if you heard my comment yesterday at the event, but we have. If you're in Vegas, they have these places you go into that are 20, like the 25 below places or whatever, so you can have a sip of vodka or whatever.
Ice bars.
Yeah, and they're getting $150 for each person to walk into these places, right? They don a coat, and I'm like, oh, they put on a coat. Oh, they put on mittens. Guess what? You can come here for free.
Agree.
And do this and enjoy this. And you
just gave me a brilliant idea. I'm going to have a lemonade stand in the winter on the cold days, but with vodka.
That's a good idea.
Right out of my front door.
Well, I got to finish
in my driveway. I'm gonna be there.
And I got to finish this story.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'd introduced this doctor from Florida, 35 below zero, to everyone that worked in that Rough Rider Center, a very young group of people. 75% of them are not from North Dakota. Lined them all up, had them say, "Hey, state where you're from." "Oh, I'm Sarah from Wyoming. I'm Tiffany from Alaska. I'm Brooke from New Jersey." And, to kind of actually demonstrate that they're not the first person to think about moving. But we also introduced her to every single human being in that facility to let them know that in the state of North Dakota, everyone is important regardless of who they are and what they do. And at the end of that tour, they said the humanitarianism here is unbelievable, and she accepted the job.
Congratulations. That's pretty cool.
One job at a time.
That's right.
One job at a time.
That's
but then, they also have, you hit their social medias and we start their story. You can do backdrop pictures with websites, all that other type of stuff, just knowing that they're going to share that story.
It's about building ambassadors.
And recruiters.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, and you can have John hacking into people's social media accounts going, "Wish you were here," with palm trees in the background, right?
We could do that, or I could just change everybody's bio that says they live in North Dakota, right?
Why is it more expensive to rent a U-Haul truck to come to North Dakota than to leave here?
That's
because there's more people coming here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a problem, right?
It is a problem. It's
I
a good
get it.
sign.
Yeah.
It's a good sign.
Well, the other challenge Pat talks about in our group here when we talk about getting people into cybersecurity, we have a natural platform today for that generation. When you think about Generation Z growing up, they grew up digital. The millennials grew up with the internet, and that's our workforce of the future. The only challenge that I see is, older people, and I'll let Pat talk about this in a moment, will be out there fighting them for that job. But when we talk about technology, I've got a built-in workforce in Gen Z. How do I engage them? How do I get them? They are fully cyber ready. They just don't know it.
I know how to find them.
How do you find them?
Because I was just reading this article this week. The favorite restaurant of Gen Zers?
Mom and Dad.
Applebee's.
Oh, I thought Mom and Dad's Kitchen.
Well, yeah, Applebee's. They love Applebee's.
Really?
They do.
Apparently, it's the half-price apps late at night. But
wow.
Applebee's. Applebee's is the #1 restaurant for Gen Zers.
I did not know
I'm like,
this.
You're kidding. I'm like, apparently they're doing something right. The only thing we could think of was it's got to be the apps because, living in your mom's basement, you can't afford to have a job, which means you got to save money. So half-price apps.
Right,
it makes all the sense in the world, right? But Applebee's was, I found that fascinating.
But see, that's something when you think about what Pat does, if they're getting it right and attracting them in for something, how can you leverage that to attract them into the workforce?
I think you have Pat there serving
there you go,
apps.
Pat.
Yes.
There you go. And I will just say, I actually visited that restaurant recently, and the person waiting on us had a middle name tag on 7 years. And I said, "What's made you stay?" And she said, "The culture."
Yeah. It's one of those business models. They get it.
Yep.
They get it.
It's cool.
Pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It sure is. So I'm just waiting to see that, when that next generation comes up from CTE that we're trying to train now and get them into the workforce. The only challenge I see there in my field, and I can't speak to the other fields, is if we're starting young in middle school, I got a 10-year wait. I got a decade to wait till it comes to fruition.
See, I have some other concerns, though. If this is Generation Z right now, then the next one's going to be Gen AA.
Gen Alpha.
That could bring up a whole lot of other problems.
But, we got to start somewhere, right? So, but we got to realize we got a decade gap we've got to span here at a minimum, and that's where we're going to rely on Pat, his team, and others to help us figure out what do we do in the interim, and how do you get another 50,000 people to the state of North Dakota? And I submit it might be $100,000.
Speaking of $100,000, I'm having such a terrible time moving money right now. What's up with that?
The Tech Ranch.
Super Talk 1270.
The Tech Ranch. We're thrilled to have you with us as we continue exploring living with technology alongside Marlo and Steve.
So visiting with John Nagel and John, I really have been. I've been having some trouble moving money lately. And I know it's the fraud that's going on out there, but are there things that I can do that make my life easier when I'm trying to actually move money legitimately to people? Because I've had problems with a little bit. I won't say these are large amounts of money, but this is just the business of doing business. Sometimes you have to move money to buy stuff or whatever, right? And we seem to have gotten away from writing checks and sending that to people. Although I'm reconsidering doing that.
ACH is not a bad way to go.
But they still have, these barriers in place with the banks and stuff now, because I suppose the banks have been targeted so much. I mean, this morning I was trying to move a little bit of money, or yesterday morning, and to a new vendor, and oh my goodness, you would think that I have never worked with this, at least with my bank before, but they have these whole line of questions that they ask you about now. Do you know this person? Have you been emailing this person? They had this whole security batch of things that they go through. And then they called me back to verify. And then they called me back again to verify again. I mean, it was like this 3-step process that they put me through that took hours. It took hours to move this money.
So it doesn't surprise me that it's getting harder. We have been called or notified or been part of multiple business email compromises or payments hijacked. We've had several that have been $50,000. So when you think about that, who's at fault if the processes aren't followed correctly? We had a vendor. We made a payment to a vendor, right? Vendor stuff gets stolen. What do? Bank cashes a check. Who's at fault? The legalities around it. Where's the money? Is it in your possession or was it in Steve's possession? Who actually had it? Even if you sent it to Steve, if he hasn't touched it yet, you still own that money. It's not him. So you have all these complications coming into place. So it does not surprise me they're asking more questions. Banks have processes. If they don't follow that process, then they are liable on either the sending or the receiving end. Whoever did not do what they need them to do. So similar to cyber insurance, you're getting asked 50 questions before you can even entertain signing up for a policy. I personally have not run into it, but I have seen it where we've had 50, customers have come to us and say, hey, we've had a payment hijacked. Now, do we owe that money again? Fortunately, in the cases we've been involved in, we've been able to protect the customer based on the transaction where it was at the time. So I'm not surprised you're seeing that. I don't know what the answer is, other than more questions and more actually pick up the phone and call, because that's what's happening right now. You're going to send Steve $50,000 for your new, 35 Below lemonade type stand to buy.
My Yarbo.
Your Yarbo, yep. By the way, when are they joining you as a sponsor?
Soon, I hope.
Okay. So it doesn't surprise me, but there's no easy answer. I mean, you think Zelle, which is a bank-driven transfer app, might be the answer, but I haven't done that in a while personally, but I know they're asking questions.
But when you start looking at where things are going from a digital currency perspective? Because, Marla, you mentioned going back to writing checks.
Yeah.
Well, what if that's not an option because of this future of digital currency? Banks don't like cash. They like digital numbers. They like algorithms. They like the little computer printouts. They don't like cash.
It's easier to store digital than it is cash, right? You think about coins, so that's why we start to hear.
But it's not necessarily harder to rob a bank from that perspective, because you think about bank robberies. Well, okay, what's that look like in the future where you're no longer going to be walking into a teller line and sticking them up? You're doing it digitally.
It's all, that's exactly right.
It is, and even you hear about people trading in crypto. You've got all the different issues with their wallets being stolen, not protected, etc. But crypto's not a bad answer. It really isn't. People will accept crypto everywhere. The thing we have to worry about, what's coming in legislation. Is it a currency? Is it a commodity? Are we going to a digital currency? Those are all things you have to consider. But I think the issue you're having might start to push us there, and that would worry me quite a bit.
Well, that's what I'm wondering too, actually.
Yeah.
It's we've had this conversation with AI and teachers as well. We have such a shortage of teachers in this country that, to me, the logical pathway is artificial intelligence, because we're always going to have this shortage of teachers, right? So they're just going to look at that and say this is the path of least resistance. Well, I think the same is true with banking. I think that the path of least resistance is going to be some type of crypto moving forward.
And when we talk about crypto, I want to distinguish for everybody. When I think of crypto, I think ledger-based transactions. I don't think central bank digital currency. That's another discussion.
Right.
And although Britain's already moving there, that and saying, hey, you can't transact more than $1,000 in cash at a time or euros at a time.
Right.
That starts to present different challenges when it comes to making purchases.
Well, and that's scary, especially from a business perspective, where it's my money.
But here's what's interesting from that perspective. With that type of central bank digital currency, your transaction should happen right now.
Right.
So you solve that one problem, but you're introducing 10 others that have to be considered, and then you have the competing currencies right now.
So just a question for maybe everybody in the room. Pat, did you do you have a threshold, for example, for using a credit card? Like $5, $10? Did you ever have this, or have you ever just walked in and always paid for a cup of coffee with your credit card?
I like points. I like cash, so I always try to use my credit card.
No, so you never had a threshold at all?
Nope.
Okay. How about you, John? Did you ever have a threshold?
No, the only threshold I've ever put on deliberately was on a debit card, because of the ATM machines, the skimming and things that can happen, because that's cash, and that becomes disruptive when they freeze that account. But as far as the credit card stuff,
but using it like because I always had a threshold of $10. If it was under $10, I would just always pay cash, because I know what the cost of that credit card transaction is to the business, because I'm an entrepreneur, so I always thought about that. But how about you, Steve? Did you ever have a threshold that you...
Yeah, $10 was
kind
always
of the thing?
Yeah, because anything above that, it was like, no, and I always had a rule that if I went to a coffee place or a fast food or someplace and it was under $10, absolutely not. You pay cash. But you and I had this conversation in the past too. It's because I had a change jar, so I always wanted to bank a change jar.
Right.
Well, now that argument gets thrown out the window a little bit because of Acorns, or the ability to have that digital change jar, which. Well, there's a little paradigm shift there.
So do you still have a threshold or not?
Yeah, anything under $10, I don't use it. $5 for sure.
I think COVID changed my thinking on it, just because it's just convenient, and a lot of places stopped taking cash.
Are you saying money's dirty?
I'm just saying.
Wow.
I'm surprised at how many places don't take cash anymore, and so that's an issue too.
Yeah.
It's easier to move digitally.
Yeah.
It just is, and handle.
You mentioned the charges for using credit cards though too, and take a look at all the businesses that are, hey, you're going to get a 3% discount for not using that credit card, because
that's about what it costs for a business to take the credit
3%.
card.
That's what's popping up. It's kind of like the businesses that didn't take American Express in the past because it was 4 or 4.5%.
Right.
So there's a cost to that business that people are cognizant of. So if for no other reason, I think that has been ushering cash back a little bit is that cost, the fees involved with the digital transaction through a credit card.
The only thing is, if they start using a debit card, you don't have the fee, right?
Right.
So now you still have that opportunity.
No, you still have a fee, but if you have to put your PIN
It's
in.
through the bank. Yeah.
Correct.
That
if
fees
you don't
through the bank,
if
which
you
they'll
don't put
write
the PIN
off.
in, then it's a credit card transaction. Then.
That's true. So you have to be aware of that too.
And I don't think many people put their PINs in those.
No,
ads
they
on-
probably don't. But here's the other side where I look at credit cards is businesses have the opportunity to get paid and know they got the money right away. And with all the
Exactly.
fraud going on, it might be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have any questions or want to suggest topics for future shows, visit thetechranch.com and send us your thoughts. You can also listen to past episodes and watch exclusive interviews not featured on the radio show. Be sure to follow Marlo and Steve on social media by clicking the links at thetechranch.com. Until next time, keep exploring the world of living with technology.
This is the Pet Minute. I'm Steve Dale. Heart disease in dogs. Next. Your dog loves going to the dog park and seeing his buddies. Maybe sometimes when you travel, he gets to hang out with friends at his favorite boarding facility. Social dogs like yours need more protection than most. By pairing Bordetella Protection, also known as kennel cough, with immunity against canine influenza, we can help ensure these dogs stay healthy. Merck Animal Health wants you to talk with your veterinarian about pairing up for protection with vaccines for your dog for kennel cough and the canine influenza virus. Don't wait. Vaccinate. Heart disease is a common problem in dogs, especially aging dogs, according to Dr. Brian Scanson.
Mitral valve disease or degeneration of the mitral valve is the number one heart disease we see in dogs, where one of the major valves of the heart begins to leak.
This can lead to congestive heart failure, but there are signs to watch for and products like VetMedin that can help. Talk with your veterinarian. For the Pet Minute, I'm Steve Dale.
It's the end of the road with Kiss. Kiss will be playing their last show at Madison Square Garden in New York City on December 12th. And you can be there. Listen for code words at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., 5 p.m., and 8 p.m. all week long. Enter the code words you hear into the free SuperTalk 1270 mobile app for your chance to win. You have up to 4 chances per day to win a trip to this historic concert. We'll hook you up with round-trip airfare to New York City, 2 tickets to the show, 2 nights hotel accommodations, and $500 spending cash. Download the free SuperTalk 1270 app in the App Store or Google Play today and get ready to win. It's the end of the road with Kiss on SuperTalk 1270 and the free SuperTalk 1270 mobile app powered by Sky Zone. Come and fly high with us in Northwest Bismarck.
AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Chuck Severson. A secret peace plan not long after arriving at this Rome hotel. Reporters snapping pictures. Ukrainian President Zelensky met with Pope Francis. Zelensky says he sought support for his peace plan from the Pope. This as Ukrainian advances against Russian troops are being reported by both Ukrainian and Russian officials. ABC's Britt Clement.
The Vatican says Pope Francis spoke about the need for gestures of humanity in his first meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky since the war began. His Vatican visit comes amid reports a secret Vatican peace mission is underway in Ukraine. The Italian capital was under heavy security during Zelensky's trip with a no-fly zone imposed.
North Carolina's Democratic governor at a rally vetoed legislation today that would have banned nearly all abortions in his state after 12 weeks of pregnancy. The Republican-controlled legislature could vote to override that veto. NORAD, North American Aerospace Defense Command, pilots intercepted 6 Russian aircraft in international airspace near Alaska Thursday, according to a new release from NORAD calling the incident routine. On the same weekend, former President Trump has a rally tonight in Des Moines, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is traveling around Iowa. In past hours in Sioux City.
At the end of the day, governing is not about entertaining. Governing is not about building a brand or talking on social media and virtue signaling. It's ultimately about winning and about producing results. And that's what you've done in Iowa, and that's what we've done in Florida.
Talking about what he calls his battle for the soul of the nation and battling violent extremism and racism at home, President Biden at commencement today at Howard University in Washington.
Stand up against the poison of white supremacy as I did my inaugural address to single out as the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy.
President Biden at Howard University. You're listening to ABC News.
Super Talk 1270, Bismarck area weather.
With your forecast, I'm Corey Hartman. For today, showers and thunderstorms are likely. Cloudy and breezy with a high near 65. Tonight, chance of showers 48. Sunny and 72 on your Sunday. Monday, sunshine 74. Warmer Tuesday, mostly sunny. Highs near 78. Are you behind on your tax payments? Call Tax Solutions now for help. 800-281-8193. It's 60 at our studios.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer? The Drug Facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the Drug Facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/Drug Facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Talk of the Town with Steve Bakken. Weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome to the Tech Ranch, where we explore the world of living with technology. Get ready to take a deep dive into the latest gadgets, apps, and innovations with your hosts, the Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson, and his trusty co-host, Steve Bakken. Join us on this exciting journey, and don't forget to visit thetechranch.com for even more exclusive content. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Marlo and Steve to the Tech Ranch.
So I just heard a rumor we're getting 2 fingers of scotch.
Really? I'm in.
What kind of scotch do you drink?
I usually single barrel.
Okay. I'm just learning scotch.
Really?
More bourbon, actually.
Well, bourbon's easy.
Well, I start with easy things.
I've been drinking
usually.
bourbon longer than scotch.
Okay.
Scotch is an acquired taste.
So I have to migrate to scotch, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Is there an app for this? Is there a learning app or something?
Probably.
John?
Because if you just jump into scotch, a lot of people tend to... It's kind of like good cigars. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. And scotch has a longer learning curve than bourbons.
Yeah, and scotch, I can't learn scotch. Bourbon is good, right?
Scotch is hard.
Yeah, but see, bourbon can be 2 things. Bourbon can be whiskey, but whiskey can never be bourbon.
True.
So,
I'm impressed that you know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
I'm a Renaissance man.
That is true.
So I kind of know a little bit about everything and a lot about nothing.
So bourbon comes from where?
Yeah.
Kentucky.
Bardstown, as a matter of fact. That's good, though. That's good. You're right. It is actually an alcohol that has its roots here, right in the USA.
It does, and you got to go on the Kentucky Bourbon little tour that they have. It's a great trip. I'm telling you, it sounds like a plan. Steve, you ready?
I've already done it.
I haven't done it yet.
Pat,
I missed
bourbon
it.
tour? Have you done this?
I have not.
Well, then I think you and I need to go on the road trip and leave these two guys back here.
We can help guide.
No. I haven't gone either. I'll drive.
Oh, okay.
I'm going.
I can help guide. Yeah.
Yeah, you could guide.
No, we don't need you. You've been there. You'll just ruin it for us.
Maybe-
It's like telling us the last chapter of a book or what happens at the end of the movie
but
before we go.
It was funny because there was a group of us that were at Churchill Downs for a birthday party that my wife and I had gotten invited to, and she's not a bourbon drinker. So it was kind of like I did the tour twice.
Well, I do have a standing invite from Bardstown, by the way.
We're going.
Ooh.
I know. We get the tour. Get to fly in.
The tech version of? We could do a tech ranch version.
They will actually pick us up in a car and take us on a tour.
I wonder if 3-hour tour.
Is our tour guide Gilligan and a skipper?
That might not end well.
We may have to do that someday. That would be fun. All right, so I have no idea what we're talking about anymore outside of bourbon.
I don't either.
Cybersecurity.
Yep.
Tell us a little. Yeah.
So a little bit about cybersecurity here in town, and I definitely have to. Part of the reason I joined Beck Communications is what they give back to the community. We are a broadcast company, and we had done some work for them, and they liked what we did and said, "Hey, you know what? Cyber is pretty critical to who we are and what we are in our telecom industry, but for all the businesses around." So we had some discussions, and it's just over 2 years now, but. The group we have here, CyberNet Security by Beck, is the only pure play cyber business in North Dakota. That's all we do. We don't focus on anything else. We find the bad stuff, tell you how to fix it, and help you get people to take care of it. So that's really important. So I definitely have to give a big shout out to Derek Balawa, who's had the foresight to make that decision and help his customers and help the people here in the state, but also to give not only me, but his staff and other people the time to give back to the community. We do a lot of that. I know we even volunteer at, Gateway to Science. We'll come and do things, the CTE programs, whatever we need to do. So I'm very grateful to be there.
So very good. Very good. So, reach out if you're having some cybersecurity issues.
Yeah, just reach out to us. You can email us at info@cybernetsecurity.com or 701-475-1444.
Okay, very good.
How does that sound? You want me to say that again?
Yeah, please do that.
701-475-1444.
And one more time.
Or info@cybernetsecurity.com. There you go.
Because
Thank
when they do those commercials, you got to do it 3 times or more, right? And
it is. Well, the third time people remember, right? Tell them what you're going to tell them what you told them, and tell them again.
What's the number?
701-475-1444.
But just look it up at Beck.
Look it up at Beck or cybernetsecurity.com. Just come see us there and we'll help you out.
Yeah, great question. Going from Beck, which Beck is a rural telecom, which is a fiber. So where are we at right now with fiber, that transition to get over to fiber? Because I know there's a lot of systems out there that aren't on the fiber, and what's the timeline for getting to where we need to be?
So when you talk about fiber in North Dakota, we have done very, very well. Mm-hmm. Per capita people, we're probably number 1 in the country. So we have a few spots left here in North Dakota that we need to finish. And hopefully with a couple grants coming up with the federal government and working with our state here, we'll be able to finish those off. But it's not just fiber, it's enabling the speed of data on that fiber. There are some regulations for the grants. You want to get to a gig or 100 by 100 upload and download speeds. So there's different requirements we put it in to keep boosting that speed so we can be competitive here in the state. So for Beck, we've got some of the best glass in the world, and I'm proud to say that we've won multiple awards, for best internet for small rural businesses or small rural telcos. But when you think about it, we're a 71-year-old cooperative this year in North Dakota, and we're sitting with glass to every one of our customers. We're finishing up ICTC, which we acquired a few years ago, and actually getting that glass and the copper out this coming year.
What is the actual, how much data can be transferred over a single strand of fiber? You have an idea what that is?
Depends on compression and what you're doing.
So there's a lot of variables in
it's a lot of variables.
But it moves at the speed of light.
Literally, that's exactly controlled, and pulses, right? So you can control different things with it. And then you have to remember when you
infinity and beyond.
There you go. But when you start to put fiber in the ground, you can have 128 strand glass in one cable. That's a lot of glass.
A lot of connectivity. A lot of data.
It is. And we need to be
in our world. When you think about it, though. It's still 10 minutes from the time the sun comes up. I mean, it's 10 minutes that the light takes from the sun to get to us. And in the world that we're living in right now, just going to Mars and the communication to Mars in a timely manner, we're going to have to figure out ways to actually move data faster than the speed of light.
That's a long cable.
It's a long cable. I can see us being tethered to Mars. That would be really interesting.
It's funny you mentioned the word tethered, but terrestrial-based cable, and what I mean by that is glass. There is a different over the wireless spectrum, right?
Right.
There's something there. You will not get the speeds you can get out of glass in the ground
no
to your
doubt
house.
about it.
And so you have to remember that when we start connecting the world even more, glass is going to be there. And by the way, that's something that's guaranteed. You have weather, you have other interference that come in. So, that's why we win awards for what we have. That's why people connect to glass. That's why they want it. And there's still a lot of dark fiber out there that needs to be lit, but you got to pre-plan. You have to put extra glass in the ground.
And I think of it in terms of connectivity, and my mind goes to supply chain, and you talk about that first mile, last mile. The railroad industry uses that a lot because they can handle everything in between. That's where the glass comes in. That's where the fiber, the cable comes in, because you can get that connectivity without being tethered on the ends. But in the middle, you need that speed, that quality.
100%. And that's what I was mentioning too. When we've got two major rings here through Dakota Carrier Network, which our cooperative telcos all own collectively. So we have the major rings. Then you think about the spurs off of those, just like a railroad spur, right? You got the main line, you got those coming off. But then you have interconnects and all the boxes where this stuff comes together. That equipment also determines the speed. So you have to enable that. You have to keep that upgraded. And it wouldn't surprise me long that we're going to be 10 gig everywhere up here. It's not far away. The equipment can do it today. We are doing some 10 gig already. So it's coming. Will we use it maybe today? Maybe not. But we're going to need it for tomorrow. There's no doubt about it. And you have to be on glass to be ready for that. You're not going to get it from the satellite. You're not going to get it point to point or wireless. It's nice to have. And you need it when you're moving about and around. But if you want guaranteed transmission, that's got to be hardwired.
This seems incredible. I remember getting a 300 baud modem. This is in 1986. John's going to laugh at me about this. And I actually had a conversation. What are we going to do with all this speed?
And do you remember when you went to a 1200 baud modem,
goodness.
Jump? And
yes.
And you got away from acoustic couplers, right? We heard that
all
little
of that,
sound.
Right?
It was all there, right?
And the first time you seen a graphic, a GUI coming off over the internet, because it was always just text-based before that, right? You'd hack into bulletin boards or BBSs, and everything was text-based. In fact, the graphics you would see would be text. Basically, it would just be you would cleverly use commas and K's and whatever else to make pictures of people or whatever. It was just hilarious compared to what it is
and
today.
The screen was green. I remember
and the
that.
screen was green.
Amber was really cool.
Oh, it was.
Amber was really great.
Time? Oh, yeah.
The other thing people forget about when you get on the cell phone, you got all the wireless connection. Those towers have to be connected somewhere to go to and get that information. Those towers here in North Dakota and by Beck are connected by us with our fiber. The Verizon towers and everything that goes off it. You just can't take and pump all that data through there. It's not possible.
Well, I think a lot of people think actually that when you make a cellular connection that it's just bouncing from tower to tower to tower. You're really just communicating with the one tower, and then it goes to glass.
Yeah, and it gets backhauled to wherever it needs to go, and then pushed back out over again. And that's why you see when you have bad cellular spots, but you have internet there, you can actually get devices in there to put it in your house, and you're to that device, and it's carried out to the internet, typically from here to Dallas. I know that because I have it at my cabin. I'm just in the valley.
Yeah, they really aren't really any more different than, they're a lot more sophisticated, but like the wireless router you have in your house, there's still a cable going to that.
Correct.
and from there it goes wireless.
And you forget about that,
You
right?
do. You do.
It's just something that's always on, and it's always
on.
there.
It's like the sidewalk
And you don't
outside.
think of it.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of energy, a lot of planning, and a lot of money to put that infrastructure in place. And that's where you start to see these infrastructure bills come out from our United States, from USDA and everything, and why it's so critical. Because you can spend $25,000 a mile to put that in the ground.
You have to give up the mic now. We got to get Pat on.
I'm
there real
gone.
quick.
Here you
All
go,
right.
Pat.
All right, Pat. Pat
So
Bernali.
again, Beck Fiber, Beck Communications, a great network here in North Dakota, all part of the telecom family in North Dakota. Because when you think of that history in cooperatives here in North Dakota, they have done so much around the state of North Dakota.
Yep. So, Pat, how do we help you?
That's a great question. I just appreciate the relationships and just the conversation, being invited in here to come and hang out with you guys for a while. And I think we just continue to collaborate and find great ways to help each other and help the state of North Dakota.
And how do we get a hold of you?
You've got my card right there.
Well, yeah, but everybody else that doesn't have your card.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think I think just reaching out to our job service team through job service jobsnd.com is the best way to get a hold of us.
Okay.
And we got a great team out there. We got 9 workforce centers across the state and an unbelievable, inspired team.
And there's two sides of that, not just if you're looking for a job, but if you are looking for employees, job service can help you out in both.
The Tech Ranch. Tech Ranch. Get ready for more amazing tech insights from the guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And joining us now from the great city of Tioga, or Stanley. He's up in both of those areas, actually.
Spends a lot of time in both.
Yeah, he does. But our good friend Dennis Lindahl. Dennis, how you doing?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we just got a press release from you about Tioga's UAS and aviation pilot programs celebrating success and pilot graduation. So tell us what's going on.
Well, the state of North Dakota Workforce Development, they came out with a program 2 years ago, and it was, $100,000, and if you could train workforce development. And so I saw that come across my email, and I ran to the board members, and I said, we do drone camp for kids. We've had almost 400 students go through this program in 6 years. I said, I think we can scale this up and train adults. And so they said, okay, well, how would you do that? And I said, we would go FAA, general aviation pilots. And then once you get general aviation pilot license out of the way, then your unmanned aerial system is just an endorsement. It's just a little test that you take. And a lot of these very big companies, these corporations, they are looking for UAS pilots that have general aviation experience. So you're not going to be flying big projects with, a little Walmart drone and, potentially your 107 that you got for $99. I mean, when we start talking about dealing with industry, inspecting pipelines, inspecting wind turbines, now you're getting into big liability. You're getting into equipment that's larger airframes, larger payload capability, and the potential to interact with aircraft. So you want those experienced pilots. And so we put the program together. It was a $100,000 matching grant. So we had to come up with $100,000 in local participation, which I organized. We did that. And then we took that information plus a plan, plus our sponsor, Enel Green Power North America, and we went and got this $100,000. And so we got the $100,000. We opened up the program. We got 33 applications, right away, immediately. And then we pared that down to about 16. And then that got pared down, because there are health requirements. You be a general aviation pilot, you've got to get a medical exam.
Right.
So we lost a couple of potential candidates due to health issues qualifying with the FAA. And so now we're through the program, through the ground school, and through the flight school, and we graduated 8 pilots. They have soloed, and now they will be moving on to the unmanned aerial systems curriculum, which will be real easy for them. They already understand aerodynamics. They already understand all the principles of flight. They have basically got their pilot's license, and now we'll train them up on unmanned aerial systems. And so that's what's happened. That's what happened last week in Tioga. We graduated those pilots.
So, first of all, congratulations. This is quite an accomplishment, actually. So, I find it interesting that you are able to recruit general aviation pilots to this program. Why is that? Why are you able to recruit those people?
Well, I mean, there is a romance. There is it's inspiring. People may fly. People may see other people fly. You know, we have got a lot of agriculture aviators here in North Dakota, and so just saying, hey, do you want to learn how to fly? When we said, do you want to learn how to fly? I mean, we got inundated. We got inundated with phone calls. You know, we did newspaper ads. We did radio ads. You know, we got the drone car made up to promote, and the phone calls just started coming in.
Which is great, by the way. The drone car is fantastic.
To actually apply, that was the enthusiastic part. A lot of fun.
Your drone car is fantastic, by the way. It always turns heads. Have you seen this thing, Steve?
Only when it's behind me because I think I'm getting pulled over by a cop.
That's exactly how you feel. It's funny.
People pull us over and they want to take pictures with it. And so it's a 2014 Ford Explorer. It is a police interceptor. You know, we got drones that are going 90, 100 miles an hour. Catastrophic airframe failure. You know, you get a flyaway. The idea is to have the capability to locate a drone when it goes missing. That's the idea. And it is a head turner. People love it. And, you know, we love doing it. We've been in the state fair parade, you know, taking it back and forth. People pull us over and want to get pictures taken. It's tremendous.
It's pretty cool. All right. So next now they're moving into the unmanned aerial systems, and they'll have training in this, correct?
That's correct. So we get the curriculum for them. It's a real easy curriculum. But the great part about it is Enel, Green Power North America, Lindahl Wind Farms, they have partnered with us to take the students through some of the requirements in order to, say, inspect a wind turbine, to have that industrial interaction. And so, you know, there may be OSHA requirements. You know, back in the day, you know, maybe 10 years ago, we would get phone calls because we were doing the drone camp for kids. We would get phone calls of people that, hey, I got my 107 and I want to come out there to the oil patch and I want to make a bunch of money. Are you OSHA? Have you had your OSHA training, your safety training? No. Well, guess what? You can't even go on an oil site. You cannot even go on an oil site. And so there are barriers to entry when it comes to interacting with industry. And Enel Green Power North America, they are going to provide that training for us.
So what about out of line of sight? Is there special training for that as well?
Well, the out of line of sight right now, the state has dedicated a couple of rounds of funding to it. I think we're probably close to $60 million. The beyond visual line of sight, you have to have telemetry on the drone. So the drone has to be communicating with the tower. And we may be, there is a tower in Williston, there is a tower in Grand Forks, and there is a tower in Watford City. But right now, beyond visual line of sight, unless you are operating in and around one of those towers, you can't do it unless you're operating in and around one of those towers. And you have to have the telemetry that is communicating with those towers. So we're not quite all the way across the state yet. That is the goal, to have two corridors, to have a southern corridor and a northern corridor, one that goes from Grand Forks to Williston, and then from Williston all the way back down to Fargo. So that's the aspiration, and that's what everybody's working for. The UAS Center, Center for Innovation, Vantis, all of these entities are working towards it's basically air traffic control for unmanned aerial systems. That's what we're working on right now.
How close do you have to be to a tower, Dennis?
Well, I mean, so number one, it depends on the tower. It depends on the tower, the power, the strength of the signal. But right about now, I mean, we're talking around less than 3 miles.
Oh, I expected it to be further than that.
Yeah, I know. There is some expectation that it would be further. You'd think if there was a tower in Watford City and one in Williston, that you'd be able to fly in between.
Right.
that is an aspiration. That's where we're trying to get to. But the equipment has to be proven first, right? You can't just you can't just invest in equipment and then hope it works, right? It's got to be tested. And so I believe Eyesight, and there are many other companies that are operating in beyond visual line of sight that are trying to get that done.
Well, again, I have to give you kudos for doing what you're doing up there. This is absolutely amazing that a town the size of Tioga has taken it upon themselves to actually, take general aviation pilots and train them on UAV. I think it's absolutely amazing.
The Tech Ranch,
Super Talk,
where technology is our passion. Let's jump back into the conversation with Marlo and Steve.
And this is an economic development effort, and we've got several really good elements that are working to our benefit. Number one, we've got a bunch of people that love to teach the students. We've got a bunch of people that are very interested in technology, and we have a very forward-thinking board. If it was not for a strong group of leaders in the Tioga Area Economic Development Corporation, if it wasn't for those forward-thinking innovators, programs like this would not take place. We absolutely need those. And so the credit goes to the Tioga Area Economic Development as well as the students, because these students, whether we're talking about, 5th graders through 12th graders, or we're talking about adults, they come ready to learn. They want this education. And so it's easy to roll out the carpet when you've got enthusiastic learners.
We're talking with Dennis Lindahl, Tioga's UAS and Aviation Pilot Program, celebrating the success in pilot graduation. Kudos for that. I want to talk about the industry side of stuff, because you think about Tioga, North Dakota, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, a little north of the Highway 2 corridor. And we talk about workforce all the time. You have to build your own workforce in a lot of different spaces in North Dakota. And that's kind of where Tioga and the community and the economic development piece has stepped into the gap, because they saw, recognized, communicated with different industries and found this need. So, you know what? We're going to solve that. Talk about the different industries, because you mentioned the wind. We know about the oil side. What are all the industries that you guys are targeting or working with through this program?
Well, so when we're training pilots, when we're training unmanned aerial systems pilots, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the efficiencies. So right now, say like MDU has transmission lines. Those transmission lines, they have to be inspected. That is done from the air in a jet. So they fuel a jet. The jet flies at a couple hundred miles an hour, and it flies over the transmission lines, and it does the inspection. So that's thousands of dollars per hour for that equipment and for that pilot to operate. We can come in with unmanned aerial systems, and the idea is to provide that same service, possibly higher service, high definition video in those inspections, and then those videos can just go on a shelf. There may be a problem that occurs later on, and you'd be able to go to the shelf, you'd be able to pull that data, and you'd be able to say, oh, yeah, when we flew this inspection, here was a point. We didn't realize it would become an issue. And then you can start to identify even earlier. You can start to kind of predictively see where, potential problems or failures might be. Same thing on pipelines. So pipelines have to be flown, and generally those are flown by helicopters. So when there's a pipeline inspection that happens, whether it's natural gas pipeline or whether it's crude oil pipeline, they have to be inspected. That's usually done from the air as well. Same thing. It's just finding those efficiencies. Now, when you're talking about inspecting wind turbines or inspecting the blades, that is generally already done by unmanned aerial systems. And it's very good equipment. They have not just visual inspection, but they can also inspect them in other ways from the air. And you're talking about 300 feet in the air with a pilot's on the ground operating a drone. You're saving tremendous amounts of money rather than putting somebody on a string and having them hang to do their inspections. And then that leads into the other types of infrastructure. So whether you're talking about transmission lines, whether you're talking about electrical transmission lines or crude oil or natural gas, that is an infrastructure. So then you start taking the leap towards, can we inspect roads with this technology? The answer is yes. Can we inspect bridges with this technology? The answer is yes. And here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to put the technology and the information into the hands of the individual, because we don't know. When we put a drone into a child's hands, we have no idea where they're going to take that 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We have students that are taking this technology, and they'll come back and they'll say, "Oh, look what I found with this," or "Look what I found with that." These creative types, right? It's all about, you've got people in the community that want to learn, and this hands-on training, whether you're talking about an electrician, HVAC, someone that's working in the crude oil industry, these are all hands-on vocations. Hands-on vocations, the training can start in 3rd grade. It can start in 5th grade. We have a huge shortage for the skilled trades here in the United States of America. Our idea is to reach further back with this workforce development. Many of these small communities have economic development funds that are available for workforce development, but many people haven't had the vision or the thought to go further into, elementary school. Let's go into high school. We think of lots of people like, hey, let's sponsor them to go to the trade school and down in Wapaton and learn welding. That's a thought of thing, but many communities haven't thought, hey, we can use this economic development money to train students and get them interested, capture their imagination when they're young, and then you will have them when they're older. And so North Dakota is great. We're great at exporting. We export our energy, we export our ag, and one of the things is we export our students. We got to stop exporting our intellectual capital. These students go on to post-secondary education. Well, they go down to Fargo or Minot or Bismarck or Grand Forks, and then they don't ever come back. But if we can capture their imagination and say, where did I learn about technology? I learned about technology in Tioga, North Dakota. Then when they go get their education, maybe we have a better chance at retaining them here in the great state of North Dakota. So it's a very, very large vision for what we're trying to do here.
So I've had the honor of attending 1 or 2 or 5 or 8. I don't even know what number we're at anymore, Dennis, when it comes to drone camp for kids. It's a brilliant idea, and I've had a lot of fun being part of that adventure with you. And to me, it is an adventure, because I love, especially the second day when you have all the kids putting their drones up into the air at the same time, and thinking I should have a baseball glove along with me and a helmet, but it's a lot of fun. I have a good time with that. What was the inspiration behind that? How many years have you been doing this, and tell me the impact that you've seen? I'm going against my own rule here, by the way, because I try not to ask more than one question at one time. But tell me the impact that you've seen to your community, and even if you've had a student that's actually embraced the UAV industry now because of this.
So the inspiration came from, I'm a 107 certified pilot myself. And I got involved. One of my best friends from high school is an Emmy award-winning videographer. And he shared with me during the boom, hey, I want to get into drones, but I don't have the capital. Well, I'm out here in the oil patch. I've got the capital. I don't have the expertise. So I became a partner. He and I got into a partnership, and he started buying equipment. Well, as fast as he could buy equipment, the technology was advancing so rapidly. As fast as he could buy equipment, it was becoming obsolete. So where does this obsolete equipment end up? It ends up sitting in a corner in my office. And then he's a very talented, skilled UAS pilot. He goes on to work for the Department of Defense and leaves me with all this obsolete drone equipment. And so I'm working in Tioga, and I go to them and I'm like, hey, I got this equipment. It's obsolete, but we can teach students with it. And I met plenty of opposition. I had lots of doors slammed in my face. That'll never work. That's a dumb idea. That's not the way we do things out here. These students, the drones are never going to go anywhere. Why you want to teach that? and just a few people caught the vision with me. And then once we had our first class, I think we had like 45 students in our first class, and that would have been 7 years ago now. So, and we missed a year for COVID too. So it actually been 8 years ago. We did our first class. We had 45 students, and then I think the second class we got 72 students. We were trying to get to 75. We got 72 students. The first year we had students from 7 states join us. The next year we had students from 5 states join us. And we had educators from Wyoming. We had all kinds of people jumping on board to participate with us. And, Superintendent of Public Instruction Kirsten Baszler came out. We had lots of politicians came. I think it was the 3rd or 4th year we had Sheriff Schwarzenberger down in Watford City. He came up and talked to the students about how they use drones in the state park to locate a missing elderly couple. And it has just been amazing to see some of these students that get this technology. And we've got students that keep coming back. They come back year after year. So I think what that does for us, that keeps us motivated to keep the content fresh. We're not just doing the same drone camp that we did the first year. We got to keep it fresh because we're going to have 2, 3, 4 students that have been here with us for numerous times. We got to give them fresh stuff. So last year, iSight joined us. They brought out the flight simulator. And just it's amazing how many people they hear about this, they see this, and then they want to jump on board. And the more the merrier. UND, NDSU, Lake Region, obviously Tech Ranch. It's just been such a tremendous because it's not just about putting the technology into their hands. It's about watching them light up. And to be honest with you, we could be teaching just about anything because people love to learn. People don't know they love to learn, but people love to learn. But putting that technology in their hands and letting them go forward with it. And then because of Enel Green Power North America's sponsoring it, they get to take those drones home. Same thing with the robot camp now over on the other side. Enbridge sponsors the robot camp, so these students get to take the technology home, and we don't know what happens to it after it leaves us, but I know it does go great places because the students, some of them keep coming back year after year.
This is where the Yarbo came from, Steve.
Is it? Now I'm really excited.
Yeah, so you've actually added a robot camp to this as well. So if you've kind of graduated from drone camp for kids, then you can move into the robot camp. And I was watching these kids work on Arduinos at the last one here. I mean, and they're excited about it. They're excited about programming these little robotic. Well, they were working on a car this last time, but I've seen other things that they've worked on as well. But the fact that they're learning programming languages and things is just incredible. So,
see, now I could see the cool part when they combine the two. You take the robotic side of things and the drone side of things, and wow.
This could be the 3rd iteration of drone camp for kids. So, Dennis, you got to get on this. It's got to be UAV and robots all together now.
Well, it's funny because one of the years we noticed that there was some students that were enrolling, and I said, I've been seeing some of these names before. I think we got to do something different. And so then I approached Enbridge Pipeline Company, and I said, hey, we got this thing going on. Would you guys like to participate? They jumped right on board. I didn't have to ask them twice at all. They jumped right on board, purchased the equipment, and I am amazed that some of these young students are excited. They get excited about programming. It's like these little computers for the robots, they have to be programmed.
Yep.
And so they got to write the code. And then that's only a 1-day program. But the next day, that's not even anything. These kids show up with their robots and they're like, we want to learn more about this programming. So they come back the second day. There's not even a second day planned, and it's happened over and over again, and we love it. We absolutely love to see them wanting to learn.
And, of course, you have the facility is much better. I remember the one year out in the airport hangar when it was, 105 degrees. I think it was 120 inside the hangar, and these kids still showed up. I was stunned at that.
Yeah, we had some rough years out there to the airport, to the hangar. But then Tioga Area Economic Development. They got the initiative, they got the vision, and built a $5.2 million rec center. And so now the Drone Camp for Kids is held inside the $5.2 million rec. $5.2 million rec center. It's got a library, indoor play area. Really catching the vision to do that with the library and that all of it together. But that was all done by the same organization, the Tioga Area Economic Development.
So how do we find out more about all of this, Dennis?
So the Drone Camp for Kids, you can go on to eventbrite.com. We'll have the registration ready to go, so you can register your students. The pilot program, we believe that the pilot program, the workforce development, will get funded again this year in this legislative session.
The Tech Ranch.
Super Talk.
Tech Ranch. Let's get back to discovering the latest in technology with the guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we're still with Dennis coming out of Tioga. Very, very interesting what is going on up there, Steve. What do you think? So
it's fascinating stuff. And I take a look back of the impetus for UAV in North Dakota. A lot of that comes back to precision agriculture.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Dennis, we've talked a lot about the energy side of things, whether it's wind farms, transmission lines, the oil and gas industry, and where that plays a role. Are you seeing any of those kids that are picking up the Drone Camp for Kids and going into that UAV space because of the agriculture? They want to get back into their agriculture, their farm kids, their ranch kids, and they see the value there, or their parents see the value there of those kids staying in those spaces.
So I'm being told that the implement people that market that the Case IH, that they actually have drones. You can just toss them up in the air. They'll fly a program, and then they actually plug into the tractor and download their data. And so I've been told that we've got these students that are doing that. They're getting a hold of these, my uncle's a farmer, and I can fly these drones, and he bought an $80,000 drone, and I go fly it for him, and then just download everything into the tractor. It's some of the stories are amazing. And so the pilot program, we think that probably 30% of the pilots that we graduated are going to go into agriculture in some way, whether it's with UAS or whether it's crop spraying. Some way they're going to. They have indicated that that's where they're headed. So the agriculture will be a big part of what we're doing out here.
So there are other industries as well. I mean, you were talking about the inspection of roads and bridges. I understand the bridges part of that, Dennis. I mean, I know, like, if you have like a FLIR that you would put onto your drone, which, by the way, is like a heat sensing. But there are other sensors you can put on for structural defects and that type of thing. I don't understand the road thing. Tell me more about that.
Well, so, I mean, when you're talking about, say, like checking the condition of a road, what type of cracks are there, what type of potholes are there, rather than depending on a visual inspection, all of that can be flown. You can just fly that and capture the imaging of that. You can do it at a high rate of speed. And listen, I've been to these conferences. I've been to especially these agriculture conferences where they're using artificial intelligence. And so you think about artificial intelligence can fly over a road. It can inspect the road and measure the potholes as it flies over at 50 miles per hour. Now, when you talk about the agriculture, you can use these drones. I've seen the artificial intelligence where it can count the aphids on a leaf. I mean, you're talking about high definition video and combined with artificial intelligence to where they can identify, invasive species in, say, like if you're growing corn, you got something in there you don't want to grow. This artificial intelligence can tell by the leaf pattern where a farmer needs to spray. So you're talking about collecting a lot of data, analyzing a lot of data. You combine that with artificial intelligence, and you'll be able to get a lot of stuff done.
And you're not even talking about precision ag anymore. You're talking about like ultra precision ag. I mean, about that. That's amazing. Yeah, just absolutely amazing.
Well, you've got these guys. They can throw up a drone from their house, and it can go check on their cattle for them, and they can just watch. They can just watch on the drone live feed. They can go check on the cattle. They can go check their calves. They don't even have to change out of their bathrobe, and the drone will go check on their cattle for them.
Anytime I can keep my bathrobe on, I'm a happy guy.
Thank you for not wearing a bathrobe into the studio today, Marlo.
Although I think Dennis is probably doing that back. He's probably enjoying this.
I like to wear my bathrobe with cowboy boots. I like to walk around.
Even a better visual, actually.
Oh, you're that guy mowing your lawn or letting your yarbo mow the lawn.
That's right.
With cowboy boots and a robe on.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about Drone Camp for Kids, Tech Camp for Kids, coming up August 12th and 13th in Tioga. And I know we probably cut you off from finishing up what you were saying earlier about how they can register. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that again?
So the Drone Camp for Kids, they can register at eventbrite.com.
Okay.
We'll have that available. If they're interested in the adult pilot program, which we do believe the North Dakota State Legislature will make funds available for that skilled trades program again. That'll probably happen in August. We'll have that on the Tioga.
But on that particular one,
TiogaND.org.
Say that again, Dennis.
TiogaND.org. And we've got sponsors that we're actually going to take the tech camps now. We're just finalizing some of the agreements, but we have a tech camp that'll be taking place in New Salem, North Dakota. That'll be this summer. We'll probably do one in Kenmare, and there'll be some other communities that will be announced. But that will be through Central Region Economic Development, and there'll be a couple sponsors there. One of them, which is Enel Green Power North America. So we're taking this show on the road too.
Do you think Salem Sioux is going to be happy about this? Just saying.
I believe so. I think so. We'll fly around.
I've flown around Salem Sioux once or twice, so that's exciting actually. So on the adult school, they have to have a general aviation license in order to apply, correct?
No. We take them through. They get 50 hours of air, they get 50 hours of ground, and we take them through the pilot program. We teach them how to be pilots.
Simple as that.
Exactly.
So other than a health requirement, are there any other requirements that somebody that wants to do this has to have? I mean, do they have to have a high school education, college ed? Where are you at with that?
Nope. We would like for people to have a history of successful learning. So a GED or a high school diploma would be helpful, but to be honest with you, that's not required.
That leaves us out then, technically.
Because we don't enjoy learning?
This successful.
Oh, yes.
We got the learning part down.
Yeah, we do,
how
actually.
successful it is, though.
So Steve and I could actually come up and do this. Even if we're a little older and want to have learn a new trade, we could do this?
You got to have 50 hours. You got to be able to dedicate 50 hours to the ground school. And now, because of COVID, there's a lot of ground school that's actually online. So some of the 50 hours is online, and then the 50 hours in the plane. So if a person's got 100 hours to dedicate towards this, the answer is yes.
All right, Dennis, we are against the clock. Really a pleasure having you on the show today. We look forward to our next conversation. Steve, what a show.
Great show.
Oh, my goodness.
Once again, 7th Annual Tioga Drone Camp for Kids, August 12th and 13th. Free 2-day event for any student, 5th through 12th grade.
And you get a drone when you're done with it.
And you get a drone when you're done with this.
That's amazing. We should do this.
That's where sponsorship comes in. That's we talk about this all the time in North Dakota, different facets of community involvement. And we are so blessed to live in a state like North Dakota where people pitch in. They just, whether it's monetarily, their time, their effort, people just pitch in and give back to the state and back to their community.
Yep. We'll see you all again next week.
And that's a wrap on another fantastic episode of The Tech Ranch. Remember, if you have any questions or want to suggest topics for future shows, visit thetechranch.com and send us your thoughts. You can also listen to past episodes and watch exclusive interviews not featured on the radio show. Be sure to follow Marlo and Steve on social media by clicking the links at thetechranch.com. Until next time, keep exploring the world of living with technology. The Tech Ranch,